first day to field in Port St. Lucie. The New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. Spring training on SNY is presented by Citi. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the Better Network. Verizon, better matters. By WB Mason, the official office supply company of the New York Mets. Who but WB Mason? And by Ford. For great deals on Ford cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers, visit buyfordnow.com. Spring training, time to get up close and personal with your heroes. Maybe fill a baseball with autographs. The intimate setting of spring training in Florida continues this afternoon. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Port St. Lucie. I'm Gary Cohen. Ron Darling and Keith Hernandez join me in just a moment as the Mets play the Miami Marlins. This is an extended spring training because of the WBC, the World Baseball Classic, that starts next week. And so the Mets have taken it slow with their regular starting pitchers. They will start to work them into the rotation starting tomorrow when Noah Syndergaard takes the mound. Then Jacob deGrom, Matt Harvey, Steven Matz. Today, it's Robert Gsellman who gets his first start. Gsellman, who made such an enormous impression in his 6 starts down the stretch last year, particularly the last 4 when he worked to a 1.13 ERA. He's going to have a legitimate chance to break camp as the Mets' 5th starter. And this is what the Mets will send out on the mound after Gsellman today. The 2 guys who are so integral to the end of their bullpen, Reed and Familia, as well as Tom Gorzelani, who tries to bounce back from a dreadful outing in his first outing of the spring, trying to make an impression as a veteran left-hander out of the bullpen. When we come back to Port St. Lucie, Steve Gelbs is standing by with the Mets catcher Rene Rivera. It's the Mets and the Marlins. All the action coming your way on SNY. Hot day in South Florida today. 87 degrees as we approach game time. The Mets and Marlins getting set, and down on the field, Steve Gelbs is standing by with Mets catcher Rene Rivera. Steve.
Thanks a lot, Gary and Rene. This is now the start of the big guys pitching in the games here. Robert Gsellman certainly was a revelation last year for the Mets. What did you see out of Gsellman when you were catching him down the stretch?
Well, I feel he's matured. You know, I think that he came up last year knowing that he got to pitch, you know, he got to be good in the big leagues because, the hitters don't gonna miss. So, he came in knowing that he came in have to he got a job to do, and he take it nicely, and he did a great job for us. It's one of those, him and Lugo was the two guys that, give us the push to make the playoff.
We know that he's got that excellent two-seamer. When you're catching that pitch, what makes it so effective?
That's late movement. I think he can throw hard. He can throw up 94, 95, but and the ball's sinking. So I mean the late movement on the fastball and both sides of the plate. Knowing that he can backdoor, he can throw it, in the right-handed fit. Make his pitch more effective.
Rene, you had to kind of learn this pitching staff on the fly last year, coming midway through the season. When you now have a full spring training to work with them, what are the types of things you're looking to establish now that you have this time?
I mean, I think the communication will be the first thing. I think that we got pretty good. I got to know the players pretty good last year, but I always saw something new every year. So you want to be sharp with them. You want to be know how they feel, how they're feeling out there, and work together. That's the main thing. Just work together.
We haven't really had a chance to see these guys pitch, as I mentioned, yet in the game, but you have certainly caught them. Has anybody surprised you on the positive side of the ledger with how effective, how sharp they've been so far?
I mean, they're all great, man. Catching their bullpen and catching the live VP. In the backfields, they come to work this year. I mean, they all healthy. They look good. Harvey looked good. The Grom looked good, and Steve Matz, and we know Noah. Noah, it's a beast. So, they're all ready to go. They're excited to start pitching. I think tomorrow they start pitching. So, we're gonna see nice work by them, for tomorrow then.
Rene Rivera, appreciate the time as always, and good luck Monday heading off to the WBC.
Thank you. We're going to be a good friends.
All right, Gary, back up to you.
World Baseball Classic starts next week. Rene Rivera will be part of the Puerto Rican team. Meanwhile, here in Port St. Lucie, it's the Mets and the Marlins. All the action coming up. First pitch from Port St. Lucie.
Ready for those numbers?
Marlins starting lineup brought to you by Toyota. Few regulars are on hand. Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, JT Realmuto, and Danny Echeverria. That's the required 4.
Yes.
Good job by Don Mattingly. Robert Gsellman's first pitch to Derek Dietrich is outside, and we're underway.
Can't say enough of what Gsellman did last year. Those are his stats, but you know, those 7 starts he made, so important for this ball club down the stretch. So aggressive. I think that was what you really loved when he came up. Firing strikes, going right after hitters.
Well, if you remember, his debut came in St. Louis in late August. Had to come in long relief. Went 3 2/3 scoreless. First time out. Nobody knew what to expect. Mets won that game. They gave him a start the next week against the Phillies. And he just got better and better with each start.
Another in a long line of Mets pitchers that have been coming up that are outstanding athletes too. Basketball, his forte.
There's a strike, 3 2. And by the time the season starts, he'll be able to show off more of his athletic ability than he did last year. Remember, he had the torn labrum in his non-pitching shoulder, so he couldn't swing the bat last year.
Worst kept secret in all of baseball. I mean, a couple of teams like were going 2-1 and 3-1 on him. Like, what are you doing?
And remember, the Phillies played the infield back against him when he couldn't do anything but bunt, and he actually had a bunt hit.
Nice advanced scouting.
He's not yet taking.
Oh, we're off to a rough start.
He's not yet taking batting practice, but he is taking what they call dry swings. So by the time the season starts,
What kind of swings?
dry swings, no ball involved, just swinging the bat.
Geez, I could be taken in so many different ways.
I can't think of any other way in which to take it. Keith, would you like to elaborate? 8th pitch of this opening at bat, and Dietrich takes a call, strike 3. And so Gsellman has a strikeout. High strike called by David Rackley for the first out of the day.
Okay, on to your Lexus Metsy defense. And this could be the lineup here against a left-hander. Bruce, Granderson, Cespedes. That could be your opening day outfield. It probably will be. Wilmer will get a lot of playing time, you bet, at first base against the lefties. Neil Walker, Cabrera, Reyes. This is the A-team out there. And Darno, of course, behind the plate. Just for your viewing pleasure, folks.
That's why we're here, Keith. Martin Prado DHing today. Prado had a terrific year last year. Hit .305, .359 on base percentage. Re-upped with the Marlins. 3 more years, $40 million. Signed through the 2019 season. Prado's been one of the real leaders on this Miami team since he came over a couple of years ago. And leadership is something the Marlins needed in droves late last year and will again this year, with all the heartache that they've had to work through with the passing of Jose Fernandez.
You know, when you think about players around the league that are such great leaders, someday they might be a manager in baseball. I think Martin Prado would be one of those players. Here's Donnie Baseball.
There's the good sinker by Gsellman, fouled off, 2-2.
You can have a mustache now, right, and a beard for the Marlins?
I believe they have modified their facial hair rules. I don't think that you could get away with say a Brian Wilson or Johnny Damon kind of look.
Dallas Keuchel.
I believe neat and trim is the watchword. And Gsellman with back-to-back strikeouts to start his afternoon as he takes care of Prado 2 out. Well, you've heard their voices. This is what they look like. This is Keith Hernandez over here. This is Ron Darling here.
Very good open, Garrett, by yourself. You showed me something.
I think
Made
that's
up
the way
the
we should go.
Next time you do it yourself.
No, it's okay. We were thrilled that you had to do it, Garrett. But keep you on your toes.
Here's Christian Yelich hitting 3rd in the order and takes the breaking ball down.
Well, it's hot up here, huh? It's a hot day.
87 at game time.
A little muggy.
Yelich coming off his first career Silver Slugger award last year.
He's won a Gold Glove, Silver Slugger.
And he's 25 years old.
Yes, he's got a nice bright future, and he still hasn't really filled out. He's going to get stronger.
One of the puzzlements with this Marlins team, you look at their everyday lineup and you really like the pieces that they have, but they really underperformed as a team offensively last year. They finished 13th in the National League in runs scored.
Well, they once again, Giancarlo Stanton couldn't play a full season, played 114 games, and he just makes such a big difference in that lineup.
He did hit 27 home runs, but other than Stanton, there's not a lot of power on this team, especially since Justin Bour missed so much of the year last year as well. They hope he can stay healthy.
Ozuna had a nice bounce back season last year. He hit 23 home runs.
A lot of those in the first half, though. He did a lot of damage in the first half.
Yelich drove in 98 runs. That's outstanding.
Gsellman has thrown at least a half dozen pitches inside the left-handed hitters, something he's working on. Coming back in.
And Yelich takes ball 4, and the Marlins have a 2-out base runner.
Well, they've got 3 guys in the 20s.
But just 128 as a team. Contrast that with the 218 home runs the Mets hit last
We're
week.
going to have to reset our sights, though. Today's game, it seems like every team has 3 or 4 guys that hit 15 plus.
Well, last year there were 111 players that hit 20 or more home runs, the most in baseball history.
Right, and that Justin Bour, he got hurt last year. He plays against righties predominantly at first base. He's got a lot of power. He did that in 280 at bats, those 15 home runs.
Here's JT Realmuto, who takes a strike. Now, the Marlins going into the season, they're talking about carrying 13 pitchers and only 4 bench players, and might not have a right-handed bat to play first base to complement Bour. So they're talking about maybe using JT Realmuto at first base when they face a left-hander.
Well, I think we're looking at Gsellman in the first inning. This is what we saw last year, Ron. He comes after hitters. He throws strikes. He does not mess around.
Yeah, that 3-2 pitch to Yelich could have been called a strike 3. See how subtle that was at Gsellman. Breaking ball, right? But before it, he held that ball one more beat with Yelich at first base. If Yelich had any idea of running, stopped him right in his tracks.
Well, it's something the Mets have been working on with their young pitchers, trying to cut down a running game that really plagued them last year. Easy chance for Cabrera, makes the flip to Walker, and that gets Gsellman through the opening inning. Mets come to bat on the bottom of the first in Port St. Lucie with no score. Geico Mets starting lineup. Jose Reyes likely to be the opening day third baseman now, with David Wright on the shelf battling shoulder issues. We'll talk more about that as we go this afternoon.
Well, Adam Conley, you see the numbers he had last year. You know, Conley's from that school. Remember Randy Johnson, probably the best at his craft. Chris Sale, a guy that they drop down and make it nasty with a lot of different arm angles. Adam Conley's from that school.
Too many walks, 62 walks and 133. That will get my attention if I was still in uniform.
Conley faced the Mets 3 times last year, and he had great games against them. A 1.20 ERA in those 3 starts. And Reyes bangs one on the ground, and the third baseman Matt Yingle throws him out, 1 away.
And we'll take a look at the Hyundai Miami Marlin defense. You see the middle infield right there. Echevarria, really a fine fielder. Realmuto behind the plate. I will not do. Gary already pronounced the third baseman for you folks. That's Matt Yingle.
See, just
Yelich in center field.
Is it Yelich in center field then, and Yingle at third?
Yingle in Yiddish is boy.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. So it's a young third baseman.
Very nice. Although he's not that young, he's 27. But you know,
What he once was. You know when you get labeled.
As Dribble Cabrera hitting second in the order.
by the way, Keith, we're still in uniform. All these years later, this is a uniform that we're throwing on every day.
Really?
Your polo?
Well, in spring training.
Yeah.
I like wearing the polos.
Another chance for Yingle. Attaboy. 2 out.
Atta Yingle. Oh, he throws over the top here. Watch him. A big tall kid. Right over the top. Nice true throw. That ball straight as an arrow. It's nice for the, not a string, Greg, in the truck. It's arrow with me. Straight as an arrow.
He's trying to get you off the malapropism.
He's trying to make sure you use as many cliches as possible in each spring training.
That'd be a great game to do.
We'll call it the Bill Allman game. Yoenis Cespedes takes ball 1, right? Wasn't Bill Allman the king of the cliche?
Oh, Billy Allman.
Yoenis Cespedes trying to start a rally with 2 here, boys. Billy Allman, he didn't play a lot when the Mets traded for him late in the season one year, and he just would sit on that bench and chirp cliches.
Well, he was an Ivy League guy, right?
Brown guy, first-round pick out of Brown.
So that's the reason why he was a chirper.
6'6" shortstop.
He was a chirp monster.
He was one of those guys, and I'll tell you, he's one of the greatest guys you could ever be around. But when you came up out of the steps that came up to the Mets shade dugout, you would look for Billy. So you made sure you didn't sit next to him, because you'd have to listen to the cliches.
You know, I was watching Cespedes today during batting practice, and you can see how much muscle he's put on this year. I mean, he is noticeably broader and beefier than he was last spring.
Strong guy, no question about that. He is a bona fide, to me, cleanup hitter.
3 chances for Yingle. Handled perfectly. It's 3 5-3s in your scorecard. The 1-2-3 inning for Adam Conley. Left-hander's delight. After 1, no score. That's a nice way to relax. Got all our beverages lined up. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. And by Toyota. Toyota's One for Everyone sales event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. Second inning, Brandon Barnes leads off against Robert Gsellman. Barnes has made an impact in Marlins camp already. He was involved in an outfield collision with Ichiro Suzuki last week that sent Ichiro to the trainer's room, perhaps for the first time in his career. Ichiro is a guy who works out on his own, does his own stuff, but he was actually in the trainer's room. It took him to age 43 to get there.
I was thinking that's a good way to get released if you're Brandon Barnes running into Ichiro.
Ichiro is still having a little bit of a problem with a sore lower back as a result of that collision, so he's been sitting out. Meanwhile, Barnes, who played in Colorado last year, trying to win a backup spot in the Marlins outfield, competing with Ichiro. Good luck with that.
Well, a lot of these guys that come to camp, I wonder if they do any factoring of how many players are going to be leaving camp to go to the WBC, give them a little better look to the manager.
Well, in the Marlins case, two of their outfielders will be leaving. Yelich and Stanton both will be playing for Team USA, so that'll give Barnes some more playing time. Breaking ball lined and caught by Cabrera. One away.
You know, I was talking about before, a lot of times you come into spring training and you're working on one thing. Gsellman so far looks to me that he's really working on pitching inside, both to the lefties and the right-handed hitters. I think even more importantly, into righties, it's an easy thing for him to do, but into lefties is what's going to really separate him to having that outstanding year. Ground ball machine when he's right.
Here's a Danny Echeverria and loses control of the bat. Great catch. That's a great catch.
Who is
Luis
that?
Guillorme, who's known for his glove, clearly adept with the bare hand as well.
You got to be kidding me.
I thought that these are like the Highland games in Scotland. He was able to catch that club.
Caught the shillelagh.
That is, I've never seen that.
That is an outstanding catch.
He's got to.
I know press T.J. Rivera was standing right next to him. He was getting out of the way. Guillorme made it like it was nothing.
That is an incredible play. I mean, you could break your hand, and he caught it like he did it every day.
Never thought of bat catching as a marketable skill, but that was impressive. Off the fist to right field, and that'll fall for the Marlins' first hit. So Echeverria aboard with a one-out single.
It's interesting how the Mets this season, we've seen enough of Echeverria, right? He hits the ball the other way. No power to right field. He does have some power to right center. Mets are going to have to almost play him like right fielder in, shallow, center fielder over to right center field.
It is interesting to me, with all the evolution that we've seen over the last 5 years with infield shifts. There's Destin Hood batting. How little has been done in terms of radical outfield shifting.
Still about the same because of the big number that becomes involved if you overshift too much.
Right. You're not giving up singles, you're giving up doubles and triples.
Miguel Rojas, you got to move him off. We'll get him back on the on-deck circle. That's to the left of your screen. He's just out of your screen.
Interestingly, Major League Baseball came up with a whole list of new rules for this season, most of them rather minor. One of them involves the position of the coaches who have been creeping in recent years, particularly with runners at second base, and they're now required to be in the coacher's box or behind. Gsellman will settle for the play at first and gets Hood. And So they had addressed the coaches standing in the coaches box. They did not address the players standing in the on-deck circle. There are some of the others. You know about the no-pitch intentional walk. The 30-second limit for managers to decide. I'd like to know when they start the clock.
Yeah.
Is it as soon as the outer safe call is made, or we're going to wait for that as well? Crew chief reviews now in the 8th instead of the 7th. 2-minute guidelines, although they have plenty of exceptions on the replay officials making a decision. Remember last year the Dodgers tried to mark the field at Citi Field. You're not going to be able to do that. And then the Carter Capps rule, where you call it the Jordan Walden rule. No hopping toward home plate before you throw your pitch. It's Miguel Rojas taking a strike.
Well, you got to, have a semblance of contact with the rubber before you deliver the pitch. Simple as that.
Now, the second to the last one was markers on the field for the position.
For the shift. On the shift, they would put markers out there so guys would be in the right place.
Oh, come on.
Well, there was a whole dispute about that last year where the Mets said, no, you can't mark our field, and the commissioner's office upheld that, and now it's an official rule.
I agree. If you can't figure out where you're supposed to be on the field, then go get a lunch pail.
Well, a lot of these fielders now have the cheat sheets, much like the quarterbacks have, of where they're supposed to play for various hitters. Miguel Rojas, who plays all 4 infield positions in a reserve role for the Marlins. He hit a home run yesterday in an exhibition game after hitting only 1 all of last year. And he drives one to center field. Granderson sliding, and he makes a nice catch. Good play by Curtis. Kind of jammed a finger as he reached down to grab that ball.
Nice.
Stuck that gloved hand into the ground and comes up shaking it as he comes back to the dugout.
C.B. Buckner was looking for help.
We go to the bottom of the second in Port St. Lucie, and Curtis Granderson will lead off. Nice to see Curtis okay after making a sliding catch in center field and the last half inning. What did it look like he did?
I don't know. When he came in, it looked like he got some gauze to soak up maybe a cut or something.
Plies went out to right center. The wind blowing out that way, and Brandon Barnes retreats to get it. Now, how do you cut your thumb
I don't know.
inside your glove.
I have never done it, but I was just thinking you could bend the nail back. But
Oh, nail.
right, you could bend the nail back.
That's right. That could happen. It's a backhand to the thumb.
And he sticks the thumb into the ground.
Yep, immediately looked right at the thumb.
Break out those clippers.
Curtis is like a Timex watch, though.
He is.
Keeps on ticking.
I mean,
Walker takes a strike.
I think the only time he's missed a significant time in his career is that those 2 fluke hit by pitches when he was with the Yankees.
Well, those are broken bones. There's not much you can do
I
about
know,
those.
right?
Chopper behind the bag. Tough play for Dietrich, and too late to get Walker, who is aboard with the Mets' first hit of the afternoon.
Well, if we're going to cliche it, this is a Baltimore chop up the middle here.
So the second baseman should have probably stuck it in his pocket.
Whereas D. Gordon is the regular second baseman for the Marlins. Guy with the Gold Glove capability.
I think he has pink eye. That's why he's been missing some time.
He sat out for a couple of days, but I think he's all right. You don't want to be around anybody else when you have pink eye.
Ooh, it just sounds awful, doesn't it?
I read that D was he brought his bat to his hotel room so he could work on his swing away from everybody else. There's Jay Bruce. Takes ball 1. Well, opening day is a holiday for everybody. For Jay Bruce, it'll be doubly special. He will turn 30 years of age on opening day,
Wow.
April 3rd.
Middle of his prime.
Will it be in a Mets uniform or in some other? Certainly most of the winter there was every chance, you thought, that he wouldn't make it to spring training as a Met, but here he is. And now with 4.5 weeks to go to opening day, those questions remain.
Well, certainly Conforto's doing his part to make everyone feel uncomfortable.
Well, if you hit over 500 in spring training, they usually find a spot for you.
He had 2 more hits the other day. Jeez.
MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, enjoy almost 300 spring training games and the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Conley ahead on Bruce, 1-2. And Jay takes up and in with the changeup. Talking about finger injuries, Adam Conley missed 6 weeks down the stretch last year with 3rd finger tendonitis. That's cracked into right field, but right at Barnes for the second out. So Bruce hit it hard.
Ball hit right on the nose, Keith.
Yep, that's all you. When spring training, it's not about, when you're a veteran, it's not about, you're not worried about if you're hitting 220 in the end of spring, as long as you're hitting the ball, making good contact. The hitter knows if he feels right.
Sound like a firecracker.
Could hang some laundry on that line drive.
Straight as a string.
Frozen rope.
Flores. Wilmer goes after the changeup, and he loses his bat.
Adam Conley, one of the handful of pitchers last year that had a no-hitter and was taken out of the game while he had a no-hitter. 2 outs in the 8th inning against Milwaukee, taken out of the game because of the pitch count.
And Donnie was none too happy about it, but he knew he had to do it.
Think about it. There were stories from yesteryear. You could tell your grandkids, I had a no-hitter against the. Now it'll be, boy, I had a no-hitter after 7.
Who broke it up?
Nobody. Manager took me out.
We'll see when they make the radical move to shorten the games to 7 innings, then there won't be a problem anymore. We're talking about some of the rule changes for this year, all relatively minor. Of course, there's been discussion about more substantial rule changes as far as pace of play, and Tony Clark, who is chief of the Players Association, was here today to talk to all the Mets players and talk to the media afterward, and he said, you know, part of the problem is that a lot of the pace of play measures create a split among the players.
Yeah.
Because some favor the pitchers, some favor the hitters, right? If you put in a pitch clock, well, the hitters might say, oh, that's good, but the pitchers might not. That's short hop by Yingle. Showed a nice glove at third, and he throws out Flores to end the inning. A hit and one left. We've played 2 in Port St. Lucie with no score.
I guess you'd be a little naive to think that everything was going to be kind of smooth sailing after a major neck surgery, but you know, it's just you know, as far as I'm concerned, a little bump in the road, and you know, give everything I have to the rehab, and hopefully be out there helping my teammates as soon as possible.
David Wright back in the ballpark today after getting a second opinion on his shoulder, and the second opinion confirmed the first. He has an impingement in that shoulder. He said it began to hurt him as soon as he started throwing. He figured after 6 months of not throwing, maybe it was something routine, but it didn't go away, and that's when he had it checked out. Addison Reed comes on to pitch the 3rd inning.
I don't have to say too much about Addison. There's Terry Collins, who's got to be concerned. It was interesting. David said naive, but you know, you feel at some point that you're due for some no news or good news.
Well, what you don't know, and you know, David kind of alluded to it today, is how much each physical problem cascades from the one before. Right? The neck after the back, and then the shoulder after the neck. Matt Yingle fouls one away. And David, you know, David is who he is, and was very optimistic today. Called it a blip on the radar, a bump in the road. Says, you know, says this is the worst thing that happens to me in my life. That's great, and you know, we'll find our way through it. And he'll, you know, he's very optimistic he can come back and play. And you know, I don't think any of us knows that for certain, but he's got to keep that positive approach.
That's the only way you can go through it. You know, a lot of folks, what's he going to do now? He's going to do what you're supposed to do. He's getting paid by the ball club. He's hurt. He's going to rehab and try to get back on the field. That's what you do.
Well, the Mets as an organization going into this past offseason knew that they had to have a contingency plan. Neil Walker handles the ground ball, throws out Yingle one away, and in bringing Jose Reyes back, and I might add at minimum salary for this year, which was a masterstroke by Sandy Alderson, they kept themselves a contingency plan. Reyes could be useful in other areas if David was able to play, but was ready to go as the substitute third baseman if David wasn't.
Well, having David, it's having Jose, you can go to a place where you expect nothing from David, but you would appreciate everything that you get. Everything and anything.
And Jose last year, I thought, adapted quickly to third base. Thought he played a very good third base. And he brings speed to the ball club that was lacking very much last year.
And he's taken the approach that he's willing to play wherever if necessary, if David is ready to play. And to that end, he's begun taking fly balls in center field, place he's never played before. 2-1 to Dietrich.
It's going to be interesting to see Jose in the outfield. I've never thought the ball in the air was his friend. You know, the line drive over his head, the ball in the air on pop-ups. Always strong, of course, on those ground balls.
Give him another high, hard one.
Looper, and easy play for Cabrera, 2 out. Guarantee your seats for opening day in the biggest games in 2017 with the Mets ticket plan. Choose from a variety of 20-game, 41-game, and full season plans that include potential 2017 postseason access. For tickets, visit Mets.com/plans or call 718-507-TIXX. Now Martin Prado, who struck out his first time up. So Robert Gsellman threw 37 pitches over 2 innings, probably a few more than he'd like, but gave up no runs and 1 hit, a walk, 2 strikeouts. First outing of the spring for Gsellman, and thus starts the parade of Mets starting pitchers, the frontline guys, beginning tomorrow with Noah Syndergaard.
Well, this is the big pitch, I think, of improvement for Reed last year. He got that arm angle on top of it a little more, and the slider was sharper.
And a very easy inning for Reed. 2 ground balls and a soft line drive that gets him through the 3rd. We go to the bottom of the 3rd. No score in Port St. Lucie. MetsBlog.com, all things Mets all year long, with a continuous stream of all the latest scoops and developments from spring training, featuring behind-the-scenes video and live updates straight from Port St. Lucie on Mets Blog, presented by Citi, featured on SNY.TV. That's Mr. Met standing ground. Dan Straley comes on to pitch for the Marlins.
Well, fantastic numbers when he pitched for the Reds last year, who struggled to get wins. You know what's interesting about Straley? He's one of those kind of pitchers with not overpowering stuff that a friend of his that was in the finance industry, and he kind of went to him to get some algorithms on what he should throw more often, what counts he should throw his changeup, when he should use his breaking ball against a certain hitter. If you're a power guy, it probably doesn't help as much, but if you're a guy who lives on the corners, I can see that helping.
Travis d'Arnaud hits one toward the hole, and it sneaks through for a base hit. Travis now 5 for 9 to start the spring, and when you get seeing eye hits like that, that helps.
Well, once it gets by the third baseman, just out of his reach. Echeverria, who's really sure-handed, I think in a regular season he makes that play and makes a strong effort to throw him out.
So now Matt Reynolds is DHing today, which means he gets to use none of the 5 gloves he's got in his locker room this spring.
Reyes has got him by 2. Seen a couple hits here, d'Arnaud's and Walker's for the Mets. Something different that you wouldn't see at Citi Field. It's really hard in front of the plate, and it gets great top spin, which gets that ball through the infield.
Dan Strelly, 28 years old, first came up with Oakland, pitched for the Cubs, the Astros, before landing in Cincinnati last year. Marlins got him in a trade for 3 players, including pitcher Austin Bryce, who we saw last year, a couple of prospects. That's popped up. Yelich shading his eyes as he goes, and Reynolds retired, 1 out. Here's your Mets upcoming schedule, brought to you by WB Mason. We'll be on the air tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Mets and Astros. That's Noah Syndergaard's spring debut here in Port St. Lucie. On Pix 11 Sunday, when the Mets play the Cardinals, that'll be Matt Harvey's start.
Ooh. So Ronnie, you got Noah and I got Harvey. Are you going to be doing working Sunday?
I don't know when I'm working. I don't think I come back till next week, Keith. I think you're running the gamut.
No. Let's double check. Ron, you're on. You got the Astros.
Tomorrow, you mean?
What's today?
Keith's checking the schedule.
You got it tomorrow.
You got the schedule
Yeah,
on the wall.
I have tomorrow.
Don't try to put that game on me.
I have tomorrow.
You guys have fun. And try not to give Gary Apple a hard time, okay?
Oh, you're working with Gary?
Yes.
Excellent.
All right.
Hey. Hi, Gary. In the truck?
Gary's in the truck. Was he directing today?
Depending on who's hungry, yeah.
There's a much more casual approach to things in spring training, but it almost got a little hairy today, because our producer Greg Picker was up in the booth just casually taking in the sights and sounds of spring training, and maybe talking to us a little bit too, but mostly just enjoying himself. And it's about 20 minutes before the game, and it's time for him to go back down to the truck where he does his work. And we realized that the door to our booth was locked shut. It was broken.
Yes.
And he couldn't get out.
Really?
And he started sweating a little bit.
Wow.
I never see Greg sweat, particularly in spring training.
Like when he puts ketchup on his burger?
You notice those little things, don't you?
That's because he's allergic to ketchup,
yes,
but he keeps eating it anyway.
He's not allergic enough to not eat it.
And folks, during the course of a season, Mr. Picker, our
producer,
lieutenant above us, doesn't come up to the booth very often in day games, and it was a shock to see him up here. And he gets locked in.
He'll never come up again, I can tell you that. Backdoor breaking ball gets Reyes looking. And there's the first strikeout for Strelly. Well, there's the maintenance guy working on the door, trying to get Greg freed. What's he using? A credit card?
Yeah, we tried everything.
Meanwhile, Keith's got his ice machine working. This is just a gas. I love this. This is awesome. Now, what exactly are we doing here?
Check those pipes. I got a bad knee.
Yes, we know that.
So I got this machine as a savior. It's ice now.
Rivera hooks one out to right, sending Barnes back to the track, and he reels it in to end the inning. Keith will continue to ice, and we'll be back for the 4th inning after Brandon Barnes goes back to get one off the bat of Cabrera. Mets and Marlins, no score. Fourth inning in Port St. Lucie. Jerry's Familia will take over the pitching for New York. But first,
The berm is the berm.
let's go downstairs to Steve Gelbs, who's standing by with T.J. Rivera. Steve.
Yeah, and we get to breathe a deep sigh of relief that T.J. Rivera is okay because Guillermo saved his life over there.
Yeah, he did indeed. He saved a couple of players' lives. That was unbelievable. That might have been the catch of the day. I'm sorry for Grandy, his great play, but that play, he saved some teammates' lives right there. That was unbelievable.
Are you going to get any grief that you ran out of the way and he just stood in there?
Well, yeah, now it's all over the internet, I'm sure, so I'll probably hear some stuff, but I couldn't help but to dive out the way. That was unbelievable. He didn't even budge, so that was impressive.
Yeah, we're seeing it right now, and I mean, he's got the best hands in the system, apparently, is what we've been told.
I mean, you're catching bats and balls, so you got to give him that.
You know, TJ, the other day, our last broadcast, we saw you play third base, we saw you play first base, we saw you play some left field, and Ron Darling actually said that this might be the prime time to be a versatile player in the major leagues. Do you feel like that? Do you feel like you're hitting the prime spot in terms of time where people are looking for that type of versatility?
I guess it does help if that's what teams are looking for. Teams are looking for. But honestly, I'm just looking to expand my game, whether it be play different positions or have better at bats or whatever it is. I'm just trying to grow in my game, and then whether it be third base, first base, second base, outfield, I'm ready to hopefully get an opportunity to play.
All right, what is your favorite position to play? And just between us, don't worry about them. What's your least favorite position to play, and why?
Second base is probably my favorite. It's what I'm probably the most comfortable. But I guess my least favorite would have to be.
Be honest.
It has to be the outfield, just because I hadn't played that many games or that many innings out there. So it'd probably be left field or wherever. But I'm getting comfortable out there. I finally got my first fly ball, so that was sweet.
That's always a good thing. Yeah. What's the biggest challenge, though? I mean, you are an infielder. Your whole life you're an infielder. So what's the biggest challenge about trying to go out into left field or wherever they throw you out there and learn a new position?
just knowing what to do with the ball when it's hit. I need to, I know what to do when I'm at third and at second and at first because I've played those positions, but knowing where the ball's going to go when it's in the outfield, when there's guys on base, when there's guys on multiple bases. So, and then obviously I have a lot more time to react out there. So learning that as well. When I'm at third base, it's a hot shot, so I'm going to be quick. I'm going to have to react real quick. But playing in left, I have to realize, okay, I have some time to jump here and I have some time to read the ball before I start breaking somewhere.
Do you lean on players for that type of insight, or is it more, a Tom Goodwin on the coaching staff?
Goodwin's been helping. Goodwin's been helping me a lot. He's been telling me how to get some reads and how to stay low, just like when I'm in the infield, stay low and then attack. And but the reps are going to help me in BP as well. Just getting those live reads off the bat, I think, is what's going to help me the most. And obviously some game situation as well.
Sure, of course. Yelich singles into right field, so one on for the Marlins. For you, this is such a different spring than you've had at any point in your career, coming off a year where you not just made the major leagues, but established that you could play in the majors. Just how different of a feel is it for you to be here without necessarily the exact same stuff you had to prove in the past?
I'm always looking to prove that I can play, whether it be I'd made it last year or not. But I'm coming in with the same mentality. It was great to have that opportunity last year and to do what I did and to have some fun up there with the guys. But this year I'm coming in with that same mentality I came with last year, and that's just to try to prove myself and keep playing my game and not worry about the things I can't control, just worry about the things I can, and that's work hard and have good at-bats and just be ready for the ball wherever I'm playing on the infield.
Anything specific you wanted to work on coming into this camp? I know there was some talk about, they loved your aggressiveness, but maybe trying to be a little more selective at the plate.
Yeah, I think every team has the numbers and they show what I do. So if they see that I'm a little too aggressive, they're not going to come to me with pitches to hit. It would make sense. So I'm going to try to shrink the strike zone a little bit, but I'm still going to keep my aggressiveness, and it's what I've always done, and I don't want to take that away from my game, but I do want to minimize the swings out of the zone and then let them come to me just a little bit more.
Yeah, what is the challenge though when you're trying to minimize the zone a little bit, but what's made you as good and as effective as you are is that aggressiveness? So how do you balance those two?
Well, I think it's just, instead of looking for one little spot in the zone, maybe look for a little bit, maybe 2 or 3 ball size in the zone, and go from there. And I think doing it. Come on, roll it.
You want to call that play?
Oh, almost. I thought that was Evans out there for a second. But yeah, I'm gonna try to keep working on it off the field. But when I get in the game, I gotta just keep my aggressiveness, keep my approach that I've always had. But when I'm practicing BP and doing things of that nature, I'm gonna really work on seeing the ball and knowing where it's at in the strike zone.
All right, I don't know if we were on camera for that, but a whole lot of bubble gum on the side right here. You handled that pretty well, TJ. Appreciate the time. Good luck Monday heading to the World Baseball Classic. Have fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Gary, back up to you.
All right, thanks, Steve. And interview with TJ brought to you by Citi. Brandon Barnes at the plate facing Jeurys Familia with 1 out and 1 on. There's a good sinker by Familia. Barnes lined out to short his first time up. And TJ Rivera is in a fascinating situation with this team. He came up to the big leagues, hit .333 last year. Wasn't a lot of at bats, but it was what he had done in the minor leagues throughout his career. And for a franchise that is, let's just say, values offense first, it's hard to leave that bat behind.
Well, I think they've always valued it. There's been a lot of guys that have come up, Josh Satin and others, that have hit for a high average in the minor leagues, but it hasn't translated. And TJ seemed to have translated, at least last season.
We saw he and Brandon Nimmo both come up and be productive as part-time players at the big league level, which has not always been the case. In the case of Satin's a perfect example. When he got 4 at-bats every day and played, he was fine, but couldn't make the adjustment to that 1 at-bat every 3 days. And last year, the Mets had some young players come up, and they were able to handle that, at least in their initial go-around in the big leagues. As far as Familia is concerned, he'll be leaving for the World Baseball Classic to play for the Dominican Republic in a couple of days. And I mentioned Tony Clark was here today, the head of the Players Union. He was asked whether the union has heard anything about when there's going to be a disposition of Familia's suspension, and he said no. And I think everybody thinks it'll probably come sometime after the WBC. But certainly before opening day, you would think some kind of decision is going to come down about how much and whether Familia is going to be suspended.
Yeah, it's interesting with the entire winter to make a decision, but I still think some things are there's some things being bandied about between law enforcement and what happened, or no, or just Major League Baseball and Familia and his family. Who knows?
I don't know, and I don't think any of us is really privy to that. I think, you know, what the Mets want more than anything else, and I'm sure Jay Reese himself, is just some clarity to know how to proceed. And Barnes goes around on the slider in the dirt, and there's the first strikeout for Familia. Today at 5, Joni Schwartz and a panel of New York sports writers tackle all the latest from the NFL scouting combine, plus up-to-the-minute reports from both Mets and Yankees camps on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, today at 5, only on SNY.
Red Sox camp might make that 5 o'clock show.
Well, there will be an unexpected guest at the combine today, because apparently David Price, who had an MRI on his elbow after feeling some pain in a side session earlier this week, is going to the combine because both Dr. Andrews and Dr. Elatraki are there. So he's going to be consulting with 2 elbow experts, and every Red Sox fan is going to be holding their breath.
Price didn't pitch his best last year, but still, I think 17 or 18 game winner.
Echeverria had a base hit to right field his first time up.
Makes that acquisition of Sale even larger now.
Right, but
yeah,
you know, the whole point was to have that trio of aces at the top of the rotation. You take Price out of that mix, and while Porcello and Sale are both wonderful, not having the third guy, if that were to be the case, would certainly put a big crimp in the Red Sox hopes going into the season.
And the bottom of their rotation would include Pomerantz and Stephen Wrights and people like that.
And Familia with back-to-back strikeouts to close out his inning. So after a leadoff hit, Familia gets to work. No score as we go to the bottom of the 4th. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Mets and Marlins, no score. Look, it's the Tiki Bar.
Oh.
Yoenis Cespedes leads off against Dan Straley and takes a strike. Cespedes grounded out his first time up. One deep to center field. Yelich goes back, takes a look, and that ball is over the batter's eye and out into the swamp. An enormous home run off the bat of Cespedes. His first home run of the spring, and it was a monster.
I mean, Keith, we've been coming there a long time. How many balls have you seen go over that?
Ron, I don't think I've ever seen one. Have you?
No.
David Wright hit one a couple of years ago, but there aren't that many. And he cleared it.
We used to always say in the day, that's where the men hit it.
Yes. Or they serve any food on that flight? Wow. That's impressive.
All right, so we've seen two enormous home runs here in the first week of games. We saw the one that Harper hit to the back of the berm at right center, and we saw that one over the batter's eye from Cespedes.
Belt high out over the plate.
Oh, it's a big, strong guy, isn't he?
It's one of those, he could play forever and not hit a ball that far again.
Beautiful balance, and I don't think Straley is going to throw that pitch again. At least not that man.
Well, Straley led the National League in home runs allowed last year. He might not have given up a longer one than that, though.
That would have been over the apple at Citi Field.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's 410 to center, the same as it is at Citi Field. How high is that batter's eye? About 25 feet?
Yeah.
That's a lot of distance. Granderson yanks one by Rojas and into right field. And I think that's going to be the end of Curtis's day. After he banged up his thumb earlier in the game, he'll go get some ice on it. And Brandon Nimmo will run for him.
Well, look at that contact. Eye on the ball. What I like is he's just straight up and down. Look at coming off the back foot, transferring his power, shifting his weight forward. Excuse me. And that is sweet to look at. That's no question about that.
So what he's doing there is transferring all that power off the back foot to the contact area to the front foot, huh, Keith?
Yes, without, much like golf.
Yeah.
But in golf, you got to be up and down, straight up and down. Same thing in hitting. You don't want to be lunging or too far back on your back foot.
The good hitters just have a different kind of bat speed, and the ball makes a different sound when it hits their bat.
Walker at an infield hit his first time up, and he fouls one at the plate, 0-2. Well, Cespedes now locked in here for 4 years as a Met after all of the questions the first 4 or 5 years of his career about where he was going to land. Seems comfortable here. Really wanted to stay. I mean, he could be poised for an enormous season.
I think for Cespedes, it's going to be staying away from those little aches and pains that will keep him out of the lineup for a day or two here and there, putting together a full 150 game season.
Well, you just got to hope that he has healed that quad that gave him all that. Was it the quad, right, Care? That gave him the trouble last year? And it doesn't come back and be a nagging injury.
Well, first he had, remember, the hip. Remember when he dove into the stands in left field and he bruised his hip, and that really cost him about a month and a half just in terms of getting it up to speed, and then the quad. So he was didn't feel really 100%, and yet he put up the numbers that he did. Won his first ever Silver Slugger.
I mean, the Mets have a lot of capable hitters in their lineup, but it's noticeable when he doesn't make the lineup.
Walker at an infield hit as a right-hand batter his first time up. Now up from the left side against Straley.
One deep to right field. Barnes takes a look, and it's onto the berm, a 2-run homer. Neil Walker with his first home run of the spring, a 2-run shot. So Cespedes and now Walker go deep in the fourth, and it's 3-0 New York.
Right in the wheelhouse. Fastball down, out over the plate. Both balls out over the plate. Hit a ton.
So Walker, who had 23 last year, hits his first of the spring.
Interesting about that at bat. He fouled a lot of tough pitches off to stay in it until he caught that one down the middle.
You know, the Marlins have had to do some work on their rotation. As you look at the Mets home run numbers from last year, with the death of Jose Fernandez, they still lack a true ace, but they brought in a Straley, they brought in an Edison Volquez. But it's hard sometimes to evaluate a guy like Straley, who gave up more home runs than anybody in the National League last year. And it's easy to say, well, he pitched in Cincinnati. It's a great home run hitter's ballpark. He'll do better in that department in Miami, but you don't know that.
No, that's not necessarily so. Some pitchers just doesn't matter where they pitch, they give up home runs. You know, he's a control pitcher, so if he's off just a little bit and the ball's centered, he doesn't throw hard enough for the guys to foul it back. They hit it over the fence.
But still, he did something right.
Yeah,
He's got 14 wins in today's game. 14 wins is a lot of wins.
14 wins on a bad team.
Yes.
He gets Bruce on strikes for the first out of the inning. Second strikeout for Straley. And Straley, who used to run with the Thundering Herd. Marshall University.
Oh, yes. Leo Marshall.
Here's Wilmer Flores, who grounded out his first time up.
Keith, we were doing the game the other day, and Wilmer hit a pretty good slider from a right-hander for a solo home run. Impressive.
Well, I think Wilmer's comfortable now in the big leagues. He's settled, feels he belongs, and you get relaxed, and the talent begins to show. And I think that we haven't seen the best of Wilmer yet. I really do think it's got good years in front of him, better years.
So you think that the success he had against left-handers, and he was vastly successful against lefties last year, can translate into better at-bats against righties?
Hey, Wally Backman told me that when Wilmer was struggling, that he said Wilmer can hit and hit in the clutch. And I respect Wally's opinion on evaluating a ball player. And you know, the question is, will Wilmer get enough playing time, enough at-bats against right-handers?
That may depend on the health of others.
And Wilmer's got to show that he can play every day too, if he gets that opportunity.
Lays off the breaking ball, 3-2.
And one thing in his favor, for Wilmer's favor, is that he can play, you know, second base, third base. He put him at shortstop as the last ditch effort there, and first base, so you can scatter him around the infield.
And that's outside, ball 4. So he laid off a couple of tough sliders from Straley and draws a 1-out walk.
they always play Johnny Cash as I walk the line when someone walks here?
I don't know.
They have been playing that, Ron, for the last 12 years.
Where have I been? I've been asleep. That's the first time I've heard it.
I got to tell you, when we sit here in the booth with headsets on, I don't notice any of that stuff. Do you?
No, I mean, that's what I'm telling you. I have never heard that.
Darno has another base hit, so Travis is 2 for 2.
Well, they're lighting Straley up.
4th hit of the inning.
And he is getting hurt on his fastball. Another one out over the plate. That's all Darno has to do is stay compact. Got a little bit of we're getting rid of that excessive bat wrap around his head.
It's almost like he's reverting, Keith, to trying to be a good hitter first. Don't worry about the power.
Home runs will take care of themselves. When
it's a double hitter anyway.
Yes, and Travis is when he hit 12 and 13 home runs. Not last year, the years before, they were line drive home runs.
So 2 aboard for Matt Reynolds. I was talking to Matt today. He spent the winter in Dallas, where he makes his home now, working out with Noah Syndergaard, which meant that he had access to the same facilities that Noah was using and the same nutritional plan, which means that Matt has partaken of the bowl of doom.
The bowl of doom, that's venison and stuff, right?
Venison and beef and eggs and spinach. It's a paleo dream, or a nightmare, depending on your point of view.
Keith and I would curl over with a heart attack. Well, maybe I would.
It'd be good for a doubleheader, though.
But imagine going to the gym and working out alongside Syndergaard, make you feel bad. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Reynolds lays off, and it's 2 and 2.
It's like Russell Crowe's character in Cinderella Man when he pummels that boxer after a bowl of hash. He said, imagine what I could have done with a couple of steaks.
Well, there's Glenn Sherlock standing to the home plate side of the coach's box, which today is in violation of the new directive from Major League Baseball. I guess I'll get a note. That's strike 3 called, and Reynolds is caught looking. That's the 2nd out of the inning. This is what the new rule is designed to address, because what's happened over the last few years with the runner at second base is these third base coaches have moved closer and closer to home plate and put themselves, and I guess, in harm's way. Don Mattingly make a pitching change. Straley done after an inning and 2/3. Lefty Nick Moran will come on to replace him. 3-0 Mets in the 4th. We'll be right back. Jose Reyes steps in to face Nick Miranda with 2 on and skips out of the way. Reyes up for the 3rd time. He's grounded out and struck out today. Mets have 3 runs home here in the 4th on home runs by Cespedes and Walker. There you see Miranda's numbers last year.
Drafted by the Los Angeles Angels, made his debut with the Seattle Mariners a few seasons ago, and selected from the Rule 5 draft from Cleveland by the Marlins.
And that one hit Reyes in the foot, and that'll load up the bases.
That was not even close.
I think you got on top of that slider a little bit too much.
I think that one hopped Jose, so not so bad.
Not limping at all, going down to first. So the base is loaded with 2 out, with 3 runs already home in the inning. And now Asdrubal Cabrera will be the 9th man up in the inning. Cabrera's grounded out and flied out, hit one of the warning track in right field, batting left-handed his last time up. Now back from the right side. Flores, Darno, and Reyes aboard with 2 out. And the breaking ball misses outside from Miranda. And 2-0. So Miranda is throwing 4 pitches and none has come close to being a strike. Yoenis Cespedes, who led off this inning with a monstrous home run over the batter's eye, now standing on deck. And that goes to the backstop, and that'll bring in a run. Flores trots in to score to make it 4-0. And Miranda has no hint of where the plate is located.
2-0 slider.
So a hit batsman and a wild pitch. Now 2 in scoring position with 2 out, and a 3-0 count on Cabrera. And there finally is a strike. And there's ball 4 to load him up for Cespedes.
Jeez.
Well, last year the Marlins won 79 games. Finished well out of playoff contention. Faded down the stretch.
Well, it wasn't a very strong division last year. Under 500 team finishing 3rd.
Well, another chance for Cespedes after he launched one deep into the swamps earlier in this inning. And a first pitch curveball misses for ball 1.
I always say that Cespedes has a chance to have a Vaughn Hayes inning. 1985, Vaughn Hayes led off a game against the Mets that the Mets lost 26-9. He led off with a home run in the 1st inning and then hit a grand slam in the same inning. Cespedes could do the same here in the 4th.
If Miranda can bother throwing him one of the strikes.
I'm not in charge of that.
Did Tom Gordon start that game?
Yes, he did. He spent the entire pregame taping up his bat because he couldn't wait to get in that bat to show us how good of a hitter he was.
Davey took me out of that game in the 1st inning.
In the 1st inning?
Because it was like 10 to 11
I think
nothing.
they scored 10 in the 1st.
Yeah, something like that. It's ridiculous.
A pickoff try at 2nd. When's the last time you saw that with the bases loaded?
That was a strike. It's amazing how you'll see that at least once a game from every team because they've been working on it all spring. And then once the season starts, usually you never see it again.
Surprised Reyes, but he got back in plenty of time.
He's got to mix in a strike here.
And he borderline one of that. 2-1.
You can almost see when certain pitchers come in, you know, they have limited opportunities. Sometimes they pitch a little tight, and that's what I feel Morande's doing right now.
And now he's behind Cespedes 3-1, where a walk would force home a run. I mean, you just have to be salivating as a hitter in a spot like this.
He's so wild, you don't know if he's going to throw a 3-1 strike.
Just don't swing out of your shoes here. That's all.
He can swing out of his shoes. 3-2.
You can see it's very muggy.
It's up to 91 degrees now. Don't get too many March days like this. So now everybody will be in motion. Darno, Reyes, Cabrera will all be moving with 3-2 and 2 out. And Cespedes bounces one foul. And they'll do it again. Darno, Reyes, and Cabrera get set to take off. And Cespedes yanks one on the ground, and Echeverria able to throw him out to end the inning. So the Mets settle for 4 runs in that 4th inning, starting with one enormous swing by Yoenis Cespedes over the batter's eye in center field to spark a 4-run inning. Summer day in the springtime in South Florida.
Makes you want to get up and dance.
Yeah, except you can't.
I can hold your water bottle.
Brandon Nimmo, who pinch ran, stays in the game in center field. And Tom Gorzelani, an important outing for him very early in the spring, only because the first one went so poorly.
Yeah, he came in to save the game in the 9th, and it all went awry. 7 runs allowed in 7 games last year, and limited activity with the Cleveland Indians.
Destin Hood will lead off for the Marlins, and he pulls one on the ground right at Cabrera. One pitch and one out for Gsellman, and he's already doing better. Well, Robert Gsellman had a successful spring debut, and he's standing by with Steve Gelb. Steve.
Thanks a lot, Gary. Robert, just initial thoughts getting into your spring debut here, first game of spring. What are you trying to work on, and how'd you feel out there?
I felt pretty good. I'm just trying to work on, a backdoor sinker and a front hip sinker. Last year I learned it from Bartolo, so hopefully I can get it something like his.
By the way, we're going to get showered with sunflower seeds by Gsellman's roommate here, Noah Syndergaard. That wasn't that bad, though.
Yeah, he's going to get it later. Don't worry. Hey, keep throwing them.
All right, as we wait for this to stop, or we just need to fight through it a little bit. Okay, we can fight through it?
Yeah.
This isn't the same type of pressure you experienced last year. You mentioned, work. I don't know if you guys can see what's going on right here. What did I just got sunflower seeds down my back. Noah Syndergaard's going to have to do this tomorrow, FYI.
Repeat the question.
All right. I didn't even have a chance to ask the question. So the question is, like you were talking about, we saw you trying to work on a couple of things, trying to pitch inside to both the righties and the lefties. How much?
Yeah, you're going to get it tomorrow, big time.
I apologize to all the viewers about this right here. We apologize for Thor. But how much has that been a focus of spring for you? How much is that something where you looked at the offseason and you said, okay, this is the one thing I want to work on coming into spring training?
Last year when I was throwing the bullpen, Bartolo was watching, and I didn't throw the sinker glove side of the plate, front hip to a lefty. And he was like, throw it. And I threw it a couple. And we came back over the plate. I was like, oh, well, new pitch. And it wasn't consistent, but, I'm just bringing it in the spring and keep working on it, and hopefully turn into something well.
How do you work on something like that? Is it just focusing on it in game, or do you have something on the side that you try to do?
Just repetition. You just got to throw it over and over again, and eventually you'll get it.
Last year, you shot onto the scene. To come into this spring training having had that success, is there a different level of, focus or a different level of understanding that, okay, I proved that I could pitch at that level. Now I need to go out there and just work on certain things and stay consistent?
Yeah, definitely. After last year, it gave me a big boost of confidence, and now going into this year, now I just got to be consistent and try to win. Robert,
you held yourself up pretty well right there. You held up pretty well.
And
now we got to send it back to you guys. I'm sorry, but blame this. Is Noah Syndergaard tomorrow is going to have to deal with this.
I have to say, Steve, I have seen some sunflower seed attacks over the years. I have never seen a direct hit the way Syndergaard pulled that one off on you, pouring these sunflower seeds directly down your shirt.
I also have baby powder all over me right now.
It's sunk your battleship.
Yeah. Don't worry. I have a funny feeling tomorrow's interview with Syndergaard is going to be a little dicey, too.
This is a fiasco down there.
Dietrich slices one down the line, and that's going to fall fair, and that'll bring in a run after a Sun-aided double, and now Dietrich running himself into an out.
Wow.
Not sure what he had in mind, but Flores puts on the tag. That ends the inning. So a Sun-aided double for Rojas, and then a flare single for Dietrich produces the first Marlin run, and then Dietrich runs himself into the third out. Kind of all of a piece with the sunflower seed episode, don't you think? And the baby powder.
Awful inning.
Horrible. Here's your 4th and 5th inning recap. Robert Gsellman, first outing of the spring, 2 innings, 1 hit, lots of baby powder. Cespedes and Walker each going deep. Cespedes hitting one where very few have gone before. And the Mets have a 4-1 lead as we go to the bottom of the 5th.
Matt Tomshaw spent the year in the minors last year. Came up with the Twins. And now in the Marlins organization. Lots of strikeouts for innings pitched.
Brandon Nimmo up for the first time. And he lines one up the middle on the first pitch he sees. And Nimmo has a base hit.
Nice. Don't wait around. Get that first ball fastball, let it rip.
So the Mets have their 7th hit of the afternoon, and now Neil Walker, who blasted a 2-run homer onto the berm his last time up. Matt Tomshaw, the 4th Marlins pitcher of the day, born in Kingston, New York, just across the bridge from Rhinebeck.
Westchester County? No.
No, it's on the other side. I guess that would be, is that Orange?
Oh, Orange. Over the Tappan Zee that way?
No, over the Kingston Rhinebeck Bridge.
Oh, okay.
Pulled down to 3rd. And Yingle gets the out at 2nd. The turn by the new second baseman Jeffrey Perez can't be handled at first by Rojas, and Walker's safe. So they get the 5-4 force play for the first out. A little further north.
Clueless.
Just not a good turn, not a good throw. Tough pick.
Walker will come out for a pinch runner. Gavin Cecchini will run for him. So Cecchini aboard with 1 out, and now Jay Bruce will step in. Anyway, Tomshaw, born in Kingston, but wound up at Daniel Murphy's alma mater at Jacksonville University.
Huh.
Bruce is lined to right and struck out today, 0 for 2.
Tomshaw, when asked what kind of pitcher is he, said I'm a 5th inning pitcher. Here he is in the 5th.
Is there such a thing?
I never heard of it.
No, I was trying to make fun of Murph. So what kind of hitter I am? I'm a 3rd place hitter.
There you go. And so he is.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's interesting you say that, though, about a 5th inning pitcher, because the Marlins look like they're going to be approaching pitching from a little different angle this year, and not quite the Andrew Miller model that Tito Francona made famous last October. But they plan to carry 13 pitchers, including 3 long to middle guys. They're in an interesting situation because they've got David Phelps, who can start or relieve. They've got Jose Urena, who can start or relieve and is out of options. And they have Jeff Locke, who's been a starter, but they plan to use him out of the bullpen. All 3 of those guys can pitch multiple innings, and the plan is for them to pitch their starters less.
Locke,
two times around the order, and that's it.
Locke, the left-hander from Pittsburgh?
Right.
Okay. Huh, that's going to be interesting. You know, it's a little easier when Andrew Miller is doing it,
right, but
it's the whole crossover phenomenon. What does that mean, folks? Guys that can pitch to right-handers or left-handers, they don't have to be taken out of the game because the guy's hitting from the opposite way.
Well, the other piece to that is, you know, a lot of teams are diving deeper into analytics, and, you know, we make fun of the fact that, you know, pitchers don't go 9 anymore, but what a lot of teams are finding when they dive deep is that the 3rd time around the batting order is when starting pitchers start to struggle, whether it's because there's ball 4 to Bruce, whether it's because of familiarity or fatigue, whatever it might be. And the Marlins are actually, they're going off that game plan, and I think you might see more and more teams do that, and we've seen it with some Mets pitchers as well, that 3rd time around the batting order being the one where they hit the wall.
So is it because today's pitcher reaches that wall at 100 pitches because they all reach that wall, or it's because they've been taught that once you get to 100 pitches, you're about done?
Well,
your mindset.
You tell me, as a pitcher, when you face a batter for the third time in a game, does he start to gain an advantage on you?
Well, he gains an advantage if you pitch like some pitchers pitch today, and that is 100%.
Right.
Best stuff from pitch 1 to pitch 100, and there's no kind of finagling your way, massaging your way through the lineup to set yourself up for that big fourth at bat. I thought the greatest at bat last year for me personally was watching Wainwright against Cespedes at Citi Field, that fourth at bat where Cespedes fouled off a lot of pitches and got to Wainwright. Wainwright almost got him, but Cespedes prevailed. That was great theater.
But I guess the point is that there aren't too many Wainwrights around at this point, and that most pitchers, and I'm including the Mets starters, and Syndergaard is certainly a classic example of that, even though he's been able to go deep in games early in his career, he's a max effort guy right from the start of games. If indeed pitchers have one way of pitching now, does it make sense that hitters would start to gain more of an advantage that third time around?
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Flores floats one into shallow center. That'll fall in for a base hit. Cicchini around third. He'll come in to score. So Wilmer Flores with an RBI single. And the Mets tack on a run and lead 5-1.
Well, I'll chime in here. I just think that pitchers today are not conditioned to go 9. They're conditioned for 100 games, and they just run out of gas. And it's not their fault. It's what they're in the minor leagues. They are sheltered, and you can't expect them to come up here and go 9. I don't think management wants them to go 9.
But let me ask you this again from a hitter's standpoint, Keith. When you faced a pitcher for a third or a fourth time in a game, did you feel as though you had, especially a guy obviously you hadn't faced a lot in the past, did you feel as though you gained an advantage as the game went along?
Well, if a guy's usually going 9, Gary, and I'm facing him in the 8th or 9th inning, he's still in a pretty good game and on his stuff, and it becomes a four-time battle with that pitcher. It's really one-on-one. Would I rather face a pitcher with, an above-average pitcher with good stuff 4 times, or 4 different pitchers, and particularly if the other 4 pitchers were left-handers? I'd have to say I'd want to face a pitcher 4 times. But there's a lot of guys that had great stuff and got better as the game went on. It's not happening today. It's just not going to happen. It's a shame too. It really is. I miss that part of the game.
Well, the shame is that certainly many of these pitchers could do that. You know what I'm saying? They haven't been taught that way.
Agreed.
But they're big and strong, just like anyone else was in our day and day before. They certainly could do it.
Look at Harvey and Syndergaard. You mean to tell me they can't go? They can give you 10 if you had to one time in a close ball game.
Gary, the difference right now for starting pitchers, it's 2 hours of fury. There's no kind of vagaries of pitching where, there'd be a game. Let's say you're facing the Philadelphia Phillies in the day. Over the course of the game, if you pitched 8 or 9 innings, you might throw 6 pitches max effort. And that's when a guy on third, game's tied, less than 2 outs, and you needed a little extra to get that fly ball or get that strikeout. Now, you're throwing for 100 pitches, max effort on what? 75 of them? 70 of them? That's hard to do.
But I guess that's what they're trained to do at this point. And given that, the ship has sailed on pitchers going 9. If indeed this is the way the game is, that pitchers are throwing as hard as they can for as long as they can, and you've got more guys throwing 95 coming out of the bullpen, does it make sense for a team to structure the way they use their pitchers around that idea? Darno flies one out to Yelich in center field.
And my answer to you, Gary, 100%. 100%. You have to be able to have a guy that your pitcher hits 100 pitches with 1 out in the 7th inning, and you got to have a guy pitch to the end of the 7th, and he's good enough pitch the 8th if he can.
I tell you what, they've fallen so much in love with the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, the guy that's clock, and getting a guy at 98. Those guys that throw low 90s, that know how to pitch and conserve their energy, put a little something extra when they need it, and pace themselves, Ronnie. Those are the artists, the real artists. And I think that's I miss that in the game.
Throw down at first, and getting his hand back in is Dominic Smith, who came out as a pinch runner as Real Muto threw behind him.
Trying to think of a pitcher. Now, he had a bad year last year, but a guy that reminds me of how guys used to pitch is Zach Greinke for the Diamondbacks. He is the guy that kind of lives at a certain point and then adds if he has to.
Well, the guy who I've always thought among the modern pitchers who does that best is Justin Verlander.
That's a great call, too. But he was 2 hours of fury for about the first 6 years.
Right, but then he learned, and, you know, he's at a point now where he'll throw 92 in the first inning and 96 in the sixth inning if he has to.
Right.
2-0 to Reynolds, and he takes outside 3-0.
I just think they're not conditioned for it. I mean, look at Al Leiter. Al Leiter was an all max out kind of pitcher. Hard, pound you, and he'd go 9. So it's just not in today's game. It's not in the cards.
But he also wasn't throwing 98 miles an hour.
But still, he was a max effort guy.
Yeah.
He threw hard enough.
Expectations is an interesting thing individually, isn't it? If you have expectations of a certain level, you're going to meet them. If you're shooting for the stars, you'll meet those, you know, or at least strive there.
Here's ball 4 inside, and the bases are loaded. Second walk of the inning given up by Tom Shaw.
Left-handers have not been very good for Don Mattingly so far.
So now Phillip Evans will come up to bat with the bases loaded. It's been an impressive camp for Evans so far. Won a batting title in Binghamton last year. He's made some outstanding defensive spring and then hit a home run yesterday down in Jupiter. Is not really known as a home run hitter. So Evans has already made an impression. A chance to do more here with the bases loaded and 2 out. And takes a slider for a strike.
And Evans cracks one to deep left field. Back goes Hood for a look, and that is gone. A grand slam for Phillip Evans. As his terrific camp continues, the Mets' 3rd home run of the day. And it's 9-1 New York.
Keith, light pole power. Compact swing. No overswing here. Nicely done. You look a little bit like Adrian Beltre when he swings the bat sometimes. Down and in fastball. Nice compact swing. No overswing. Hits it a ton.
He's short and strong. Yes, he is. Hit only 8 home runs in Double-A last year. That's the most he's ever hit in the minor league season. But now he's hit 2 already this spring, and that was impressive. Mets have put up a 5 spot here in the 5th inning to lead 9-1 after 4 runs.
After 4 runs in the 4th. 4 in the 4th, 5 in the 5th. If you do that for a while, you're really going to have something.
Good team. Yeah.
Now at the plate, the man who's made the best defensive play of the day without even getting on the field, Luis Gsellman, who performed a feat that I don't think I've ever seen before, catching a thrown bat as it sailed toward the Mets dugout, and did it with aplomb.
It was a spectacular play and very nonchalant.
Always known for his terrific hands as a fielder coming up through the Mets minor league system, it showed him off in an unorthodox way. Here it was. No problem. I got it.
Did you see Nemo in the background? He was running towards the bat.
Misdirection. Perez throws out Gsellman. 2nd straight inning. The Mets said 9 to bat. Phillip Evans with the big blow Evans crushing a grand slam, and it's 9-1 New York.
Fios is not.
Field for the Mets. Dom Smith is playing first base. Gavin Cecchini is at second. Luis Guillorme is at short. And Phillip Evans, who just hit the grand slam, is now at third. Champ Stewart goes to left field. Travis Tyrone stays in right field. And the new pitcher for the Mets is right-hander Eric Goodell.
Appeared in 35 games in 2015, 36 last year for Eric. Fastball, big overhand curveball, split finger changeup.
Had surgery in the offseason to remove a bone spur. He's had elbow problems at times throughout his minor league career, but when healthy, it's been a very effective arm for the Mets.
Yes.
Martin Prado's 0 for 2 today, struck out and grounded out. Curveball from Goodell misses a ball and a strike.
So in the day, if you had a good game in spring training, they said you'd have black cord fever when you went back to the room. That means a lot of people would call you. Now I guess you get inundated with texts from home.
Yes.
Right?
Well, you know, texts from your friends, but home, you're talking FaceTime, maybe Skype.
Can't do FaceTime.
FaceTime gets you in a lot of trouble. Be careful.
I take it you have experience with this?
No. Oh. I read the papers.
I don't think that gentleman was FaceTiming the folks back home.
You don't think so? Who's the new pitcher here?
This would be Eric Goodell.
That's right.
Try
oh,
keep
my
up.
homie.
Yeah.
Bay Area kid.
San Mateo.
Bellarmine High School. He had a peculiar year last year. I mean, he just set the house on fire, and all of a sudden, it just the bottom fell out on him.
Yeah, he had that bone spur in his elbow. I think that's what knocked him down.
And I really like his stuff.
Well, he's got the good splitter to go with the fastball and curve.
That splitter is a pitch that's been forgotten, and those that have it.
And there it is to strike out Prado for the first out.
Well, for many organizations, it's a pitch that they don't allow their pitchers to throw. So those few that have that pitch, that's something very new for the hitters to see.
And it is a pitch that is wicked. I never liked that pitch. Particularly that Giant staff under Roger Craig, who taught it, and it was part of their repertoire. Whereas when Bruce Sutter broke in with it, that's all he threw.
Roger taught that pitch to Jack Morris. That's gave him that third amazing pitch.
It is an amazing pitch.
Well, after all the years that teams have discouraged pitchers from throwing the splitter, do you think it's coming back into vogue now, especially after Tanaka and the success he had quickly in the majors?
For the high prospects, no, Gary. I'm not going to let him touch that pitch. But for a guy like Eric Goodell, who's just trying to survive in the major leagues, at whatever cost, throw whatever pitch gets people out.
Christian Yelich has been aboard twice with a walk and a single. Only 4 hits for the Marlins so far today. And Yelich trying to find the gap in right center, and that'll head all the way back to the wall. And Yelich pulls it at second base with a double. So he's on base for the 3rd time.
Well, Yelich can really play, can he?
He's got nice wrists. He's got a very wristy hitter. Very strong. Hit a home run at Citi Field last year that impressed me in the gap. And it was just a little flick of the wrist. It was a lightning bat speed he's got.
Of all the hitters in there, Keith, you're going to probably say he's the one guy that reminds me of you.
That's Matt Dendecker, our old friend, running for Yelich at second base.
Well, thank you, Ron.
And it's a high compliment to Christian.
Well,
don't you think? Well, we can say that. You're just too modest, Keith. Here's JT Realmuto. There's a moment in every spring training game for us that's very important. We get a caffeine spark.
Oh, yes.
There's a Starbucks down the street here in Port St. Lucie. Thank goodness. And somebody makes a run for us, and we're revived.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that, but you can't wait for it to come.
I think it's David that makes the run for us, David Hill. We appreciate that, but he got my order wrong today. I don't like iced coffee.
What did you want?
Well, you got it right, but he meant iced.
You wanted coffee.
I wanted hot.
That's as wrong as you can get, by the way.
But I'm not complaining.
It's 91 degrees.
That's okay.
You wanted
Spanish.
Hot coffee on a 91 degree day.
I like it hot. Disco Inferno.
I was thinking Jack Lemon. Fly ball to center field. And Nimmo tracking it. Dendecker takes off, and he'll go to third after the catch, and that's the second out. Tonight at 6, join the discussion as a panel of team insiders connects with fans via social media to tackle all your questions about the latest Mets news. Plus, game highlights and up-to-the-minute reports from camp on Mets Talk Live tonight at 6, only on SNY.
Have any of you two been over to the new facility in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach?
I have not yet. You said it was on 45th Street,
45th
right?
Street off of 95. Get off on 45th and go west around a mile and a half, 2 miles maybe. And it's right there on your left side, far corner. Looks like when I drove past it, it looks like a driving range because it's right. The fences are on the street, so they have these real high screens.
Right. Screens and lights and all that stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
But it looks lovely. It's not completed.
Well, I know that the two teams, the Nationals and the Astros, are sharing it. And I saw the layout. Looks like there are about 16 fields between the two teams.
Yes, it's huge. It is a huge facility. It's nice to have the teams back in Palm Beach again.
Well, for years the Expos and the Braves shared a facility in West Palm.
When we were over, on the West Coast, Cardinals and the Mets, we'd make the swing over and play the Expos and the Braves overnight in Palm Beach. That was great fun. And then we'd go down to Fort Lauderdale, play the Yankees or something like that.
Yep. The Orioles were in Miami.
Orioles were in Miami back then. I remember when the Texas Rangers were in Pompano Beach.
That's my first big league spring training camp, Pompano Beach.
Astros were in Cocoa Beach. Strike 3 called. Barnes is caught looking, so a couple of strikeouts in the inning for Eric Goodell. Mets have got good pitching this afternoon and lead it 9-1 going to the bottom of the 6th. Well, the Marlins are making a host of changes, and we're going to try and figure out some of them as we go along here.
Yeah, we're scuffling here.
Let's see. Ramon Cabrera is doing the catch.
Yes.
There's a new first baseman, but I have no idea who it is. Do you?
No.
Okay, well, that's him right there. That's I don't know. Oh, is that Tomas Talis, the catcher who's playing first base? See, that's the confusing part. They put a catcher at first base.
So how could they do that?
18.
Okay.
That would be Talis. You're right, Gary. Good call.
That's Yefry Perez. He was in before. Yefry Perez. That is Riddle. Yes, it's JT Riddle.
Kind of like
playing shortstop.
Kind of like these changes.
Yes. Riddle of the Sphinx. That's Brian Anderson playing third. He's a big prospect for the Marlins. Isaac Galloway is in left field. Matt Dendecker is in center. And that is Sierra, Moises Sierra in right field. Okay, and Odrisamer Despaigne, the former Padre, is on the mound. The junk balling specialist strikes out Champ Stewart to lead off in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, see, only the 19 games with Baltimore and Miami last year for Despaigne. Mets saw him when he first came up with the San Diego Padres.
Where's his hat off to the side?
Now Brandon Nimmo up for the second time at a base hit, his first time up. That scored 4 runs in the 4th inning and 5 runs in the 5th inning, which sets a pretty high standard for the 6th inning.
You know, I was thinking it's only human if you're a player and you're in spring training to start to do the math, you know, where you belong. And for Brandon, you know, it's a strange spring because he did everything that was asked for him to do in AAA. What, he had 352 in AAA? And he might have to return there and get many more at bats, more than he'd like.
Well, if you're strong-minded, you have to be able to tell yourself, my chance will come, and not get down on yourself or your situation. But that's got to be hard to do.
It's hard to do, but it's mandatory. You know, if you're gonna exist at this level for any extended period of time, you got to be strong-minded.
Despaigne behind 3-1. And Nimmo pulls one off the bag, and it goes right by Tillis and down the line. Nimmo's going to try for 2. The throw by Perez got him. Jeffrey Perez with a nice recovery along the line as the second baseman went out to grab it, and he guns down Nimmo. That's a fine defensive play for the second out.
And a good effort by Nimmo here. Look at the 2 off the bag. And it's a good way ahead here. Just try to stretch it. Even if it was a tight ball game. Took a good throw to get him right on the money.
If he got him.
Yeah,
if he got him.
That would have been a replayed.
Yeah.
Well, they have 30 seconds to make up.
I made my mind up right away.
We would have had to give us time to go to get some coffee.
Not iced.
So it's a single for Nimmo and a 4-6 fielder's choice to get the out. There's Perez with a good hustle to get there.
Very nice.
Now Gavin Cecchini up for the first time.
Despaigne dropping to the side.
Well, he is the master of the change of speeds, the change of arm angles. Was with the Orioles last year, got in 3 games with the Marlins as well. And the fastball pulled down to third. And Anderson throws out Cecchini to end the inning. 6 in the books at First Data Field. 9-1 Mets. Seventh inning in Port St. Lucie, 9-1 New York. New battery in the game for the Mets. Tomas Nido is behind the plate. And lefty Dave Roseboom, the pride of Pattersonville, New York, is on the mound.
Saw him pitch once this spring training. He was very deceptive. Pitched out of the bullpen in the minors last year and the year before.
Very effective at Binghamton last year. J.T. Riddle, first pitch swinging, flies one out to right. Tyrone going back and having trouble as it bounces on the warning track and over the wall for a ground rule double.
Wind blowing out to right today. Going to play a little deeper. It doesn't look like it's a steady breeze, and that ball gets up in the air. It's going to carry.
Riddle was Mr. Kentucky baseball when he was a schoolboy. Reminded me, he went to University of Kentucky too. Reminded me of Brad Wilkerson. I was asking you about that this morning. Brad Wilkerson was a Mr. Kentucky also.
Brad Wilkerson would have been a national during your year there.
He had a good year, really good year.
Here's Isaac Galloway. Galloway up for the first time, came in to play left field. Popped up. Another chance for Tyrone. Tracking it with the wind, makes the catch. Tagging at second is Riddle, and he'll go over to third.
No. He's not playing that wind very good. That ball's not deep enough for a runner to advance right there. He kind of drifted. But I'm not going to get picky here on spring training. But if you're a young guy trying to make a ball club, those are little things a manager's going to look at and notice.
Save all your good stuff for April to September, Keith.
Okay.
Now Tomas Telis with a runner at third and one out. And he tops one. Tough to throw him out, and it'll roll dead for an infield hit as a run comes home. So Telis couldn't have rolled it out there any better. And he brings home a run to make it 9-2 New York.
Little grub worm.
I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Killing worms right there. I have that vision of you coming off the mound, Ron, in 1985 with your bare hand on a ball like that.
He's out.
And then you were done the rest of the year.
That's right.
Here's Brian Anderson. How many Brian Andersons are there in the game?
Well, I mean, of all time, right?
The pitcher, the outfielder, the broadcaster. Well, this is the third baseman, who's a pretty good prospect for the Marlins. Third round pick out of the University of Arkansas in 2014. Teammate of Matt Reynolds with the Razorbacks. Played at single A and double A last year. Hit 11 home runs all told. Good looking breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-1. 1-2, excuse me.
Roseboom is the kind of guy out of the bullpen that could have kind of a. Remember Javi Lopez, the guy that pitched for the Giants throughout those championship years? He could be that kind of lefty.
Well, he had a special year in Double A last year. 52 games, pitched to a 2.03 ERA. Just 34 hits in 58 innings. Not getting bad for a guy who was a 17th round draft pick. Coming out of the University of South Carolina upstate. Another little dinker, but Gsellman in to play it. And it shows off the leather for the second out as Tillis goes to second.
Good call, dinker.
SNY's Play Ball is back, teaming up with the New York Mets to help local baseball and softball leagues with grants, clinics, and Mets game experiences. Right now we're accepting applications for local youth baseball and softball leagues to nominate a league in need. Apply today at sny.tv/playball. So 2-on Jeffrey Perez is up for the first time. And he lines one toward the left field line, and that's in for a base hit, and that'll go to the wall. Tillis is in to score. Perez pulls into second with an RBI double. 2 runs home for the Marlins here in the 7th. It's now 9-3 New York.
Ball's up in the strike zone. Not in enough. And Roseboom's the kind of guy that has to keep the ball down. A slinger, 3/4, probably got a good sinker.
Now Chris Hu will come up in the DH spot where Martin Prado had been. Chris Hu from Cupertino, California, and of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Is that near you also, Keith? Cupertino? Is that near San Jose?
San Luis Obispo?
No, Cupertino.
Yes, that is Cupertino is south. It's a beautiful area. Is that by Santa Clara, I believe? That's right.
Dan Barr, our Bay Area bred director, confirming the geography. We've got such expertise in our truck.
He kind of burps us through anything in the Northern California area that Keith doesn't know.
Well, now Dan's a Pacific Northwest guy.
Yes, he is.
And Hu grounds one down to third. Evans makes the play. That retires the side. 2 runs in for the Marlins in that 7th. Stretch time in Port St. Lucie. It's 9-3 New York. Home 7th inning. Travis Tyrone leads off against Drissamer Despaigne. Tyrone up for the first time. 19 home runs in Vegas last year, high on base percentage, but as we've seen in several early spring training games, what has held Travis back has been his defense.
Well, we saw all winter this year guys who led their respective leagues in home runs not get the contracts they thought they deserved. So the power is looked at a little differently now if it's just one-dimensional.
Well, working in Travis's favor is that along with the power, he has the high on base percentage. Working against him, the defense and the high strikeout totals. Dominic Smith waits on deck to bat for the first time. Three and one now to Tyrone. Mets have hit 3 home runs today. Cespedes, it went over the batter's eye in center field. Walker hit a 2-run shot onto the berm, and then Phillip Evans added a grand slam. And that's taken the other way, a base hit for Tyrone. So an opposite field single, and right about where Neil Walker's home run landed in the 4th inning, Steve Gelbs is out there trying to get a sense of the berm. Steve?
Yeah, you know, Gary, I was actually just trying to get as far away from Noah Syndergaard as possible, and I hear you guys talk about the berm all the time, so I came out here, and it's such a, I mean, you can take a look now, it's such a cool experience. You got the kids playing baseball, but for me, from an adult's perspective, one of the coolest things is just watching the play come out here to right field, because you see how the ball really is able to, first of all, how quickly it can come up on the outfielder, but also the spin and how much the ball curves. And this young man right here actually just had a nice throw right to me. I couldn't catch it because I have my sunscreen with me at all times. Actually, my tan, I think I'm done for the spring, so my tan came in really nicely, so I just want to protect myself. But anyway, I'm going to take a look and watch out here for the rest of this half inning at least, but it's a really nice spot to watch a game out here, first day to field.
Actually, your tan looks great, Steve. I think you've gone from white to ceiling white.
That was actually beyond where I thought I could get, so making some big progress, big strides this spring. You want to know why I love my wife, though, by the way? I got home the other day. I went back up just for a day, and she said, "Oh, my gosh, honey, you got tan."
So she lied.
Yes.
Or she has lower standards than the rest of you.
Very important in the marriage.
Good off-speed pitch by Despaigne, and it's 1-2 to Dom Smith.
Good work, Steve. Got to keep him happy.
That berm is great, and I'd love for you to go out there one day on a weekend when it is packed wall to wall and see if you can you know, negotiate your way through all the traffic out there, because that place gets awfully crowded. And Smith down on strikes. Despaigne with his second strikeout in relief.
Well, for me, the berm seems like it is a natural babysitter. Because of the way it's inclined, kids will roll down it, they'll throw a ball, and it'll come back to them. There's so many little games that they can play.
Yes.
So it's fantastic to watch.
Yeah, rolling down the hill is really big for the kids. I don't know if Steve's up for it.
I am not up for it. No. I will tell you this, though. I wish I could experience as much joy as these kids from doing something so simple. I've been watching this. Well, look at this right here in front of me. He's just throwing the ball back up the hill like you're talking about, Ron, and then going after it. The parents can just take a break.
You know, Steve, in Williamsport, they get those cardboard boxes, flatten them out, and they slide down that hill. They could do it here, except it's into the fence.
See, that I could do. I could handle that.
Parents like that berm because those kids are worn out at the end of the day. They'll get a good night's rest.
Despaigne holding his side looked like he might have tweaked something, and the Marlins training staff going to come out and have a look.
Well, let's get someone up in that bullpen, Donnie.
Just grabbed that left side right after he threw that pitch.
You know, it's interesting. The left-hander for the Dodgers, Hyun-Jin Ryu, he has the same thing. It's that abductor muscle on the left-hand side. And Ryu's going to be out for a while. It looks like Despaigne is going to be out also.
Well, I can't imagine them leave him in at this point.
No.
pitch coming out. So the Marlins, who did not have a pitcher warming up, will have to get one hot in a hurry. Caleb Thielbar is just starting to loosen up, and he'll come in and warm up from the mound, with Despaigne leaving because of injury. So Despaigne exits 9-3 in the 7th. We'll take a break. We'll be right back at Port St. Lucie. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com to see how much you could save. By Citi, proud partner of the New York Mets. By Empire City Casino, Manhattan's closest casino. Game on. And by Audi. Visit a Tri-State Audi dealer today and get behind the wheel of the Audi model you've always wanted. Well, before the game, catchers were out on the six-pack doing some blocking drills. That can't be fun.
They got to do it, though.
I don't think Kid Carter did that when he was with the Mets with those knees.
You know, when Gary got to the Mets, they built him a stool that he could catch the pitchers on to take the stress off his knees.
Yes. Gary was quite a player.
Free Shirt Fridays are back in 2017. All fans in attendance will receive a custom designed Mets themed shirt. The first Free Shirt Friday is on April 7th when the Mets play the Marlins at 7:10. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Free Shirt Fridays.
I wonder if anyone out there has all the Free Shirt Friday shirts since the inception. Caleb Thielbar is in for the Miami Marlins. He saw some big league time with the Twins in 2013 and 14, and then last year around this time signed with the St. Paul Saints of the American Association of Independent Baseball, and has turned it into a contract here with the Marlins.
So he didn't have to go far. He was in Minneapolis. He went across the river to St. Paul.
That's right.
It's a lot further to Miami, but I think he'll take that trip.
Unusual that he pitched at South Dakota State?
The Jackrabbits, right?
I don't know any of the nicknames. You got them.
Well, tomorrow, Noah Syndergaard will toe the slab for the first time this spring, and that will start the succession of the Mets' top starters going to the mound. Matt Harvey will pitch Sunday, Jacob deGrom Saturday, Steven Matz on Monday. Those are their numbers from last year. Of course, all except Syndergaard are coming back from off-season surgery. And so the Mets will have their fingers crossed that all will stay intact and they'll be able to put together the dream rotation that they've been anticipating for the last several years. Tomas Nido, the first man the Thielbar face, takes inside for ball one.
Left-handers have not fared well for Don Mattingly and the Marlins so far in this game. Let's see if Thielbar can turn it around. Gary, told the slab I like. You don't ever say the bump, do you? I'm not a fan of the bump.
Never.
Oh, thank you.
No.
Never.
Ed Lynch.
Pulled through the hole, a base hit for Nido.
Ed Lynch's favorite term. Toe the slab and twirl a gem.
I try to stay away from bump, and I try and stay away from dish.
Oh, dish.
Okay, that's because
I can see.
I never heard bump
because it's the mound.
Yeah,
because
I don't
it's
like
the
bump.
plate.
I never heard bump in my career.
Well, you haven't been listening to the cool guys.
Yeah, I can't. Doesn't look like a bump to me.
Here's Matt Reynolds, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. He's been DHing today. Mets have 2 hits here in the 7th, a dozen for the game.
Up. That's all right. You don't have to throw it. Little slip there by Thielbar. I don't know if Keith's knee is going to get any better, but his military presses are going to increase.
I think that his shoulders are going to be just
fine.
Really getting strong.
I feel like I'm getting a transfusion here. That's my bum knee.
So the cold water comes out of the jug,
right, and
down
ice water
the tube and into your little ice pack there?
Yes, and it wraps its Velcro around your knee. So when it gets warm, you're able to put it back in with the ice. It freezes the water, and then you put it back in, and you can go all day with this. This is an amazing machine.
Technology is just an incredible thing.
I just had a PRP shot yesterday. No, what's today? Thursday?
Today
all day?
Thursday, yes.
Yesterday I had a PRP shot.
Platelet-rich plasma.
Yep.
And what does that do?
Well, I've got no cartilage, right, from that wonderful hike I had up in Phoenix with the troops. I grinded I'm on bone, so I'm trying to regenerate, or it's either that. If it doesn't work, the PRP, they're going to have to give me a titanium knee, and I don't really want to try to avoid that.
Be that much harder to go through security.
It's already hard for me already.
First time I ever heard of PRP or something like that, taking out bad blood and replacing it with good blood. Remember the runner from Finland, Lasse Viren, who ran those long distance races in 72, I think 76 Olympics?
Meters.
That's the first time I had ever heard of it. And then I heard about it. Keith Richards would do it. You'd hear about him go to Europe to replace bad blood with good.
He had a lot of bad blood to replace.
There was a different reason for that.
He wasn't hiking.
I'm not judging.
Throw to him, Dex. Throw to him. Throw to Steve.
Steve Gelb's making friends wherever he goes.
That's my custom. You know that, Gary. This kid right here.
He almost waffled the kid with a one-hop.
Hold on. Watch this kid throw. He's 2 years old. He's wearing a Syndergaard jersey. He probably throws harder than Syndergaard does right now. Dex, give us a throw.
Throw it.
Out to right center, slicing away from Dendecker. He doesn't get there. It lands on the warning track. A ground rule double from Matt Reynolds. That'll bring home a run as Tyrone is in to score to make it 10-3.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me get Dex another. Tyler, can I get this ball, please? Here, Tyler, let me see that ball. Dex, give it another throw. Look at how hard this 2-year-old throws. Look at that.
Not bad.
That's very good, Slugger.
It's better than me.
That's what you have to look forward to, Steve.
Keep the radar gun away from him.
Easy.
Just around the corner, Steve.
Easy, Keith.
Just when you roll the ball to him, don't one-hop him. You almost waffled him in the face.
Dex.
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 The ball.
Dex, here you go. That better, guys?
Phillip Evans finds the hole. He's got another base hit, and that'll bring home a run. It's overrun by Galloway and left, but no damage done. So Evans, his 5th RBI of the day, a grand slam in the 5th, and now an RBI single to make it 11-3.
And the left-handers continue to get their lunch here for the Marlins. Nicely done. Another pitch, almost the same pitch he hit out.
He's got a good swing.
Yes, he does.
Compact.
You know, it's been axiomatic for the last decade that if you were a third baseman in the Mets organization, there was no hope. You had to change positions or organizations. Well, maybe that's changing a little bit. And Phillip Evans has made quite an impression these first week of games after a big year in Double-A last year with Gsellman, and he takes a strike.
And he's only going to get more time as the WBC starts. First game in the WBC is Monday, 4:30 a.m. if you want to wake up and catch that one from South Korea.
The closer version of the WBC is in Miami. I think that begins the weekend. It's line to third, throw back to first. Evans is doubled up, and that ends the inning. Anderson picking off the line drive and getting the double play. But the Mets add 2 runs here in the 7th on RBI hits by Reynolds and Evans. And that's how close that was. We go to the 8th, 11-3 New York. Tomorrow, Mets and Astros. Noah Syndergaard makes his spring debut. 1 o'clock right here on SNY City Spring Training Baseball. Dave Roseboom starts his 2nd inning, and Matt Dendecker takes outside for ball 1. Dendecker's first at bat came on as a pinch runner, stayed in the game in center field. The former Met dealt 2 springs ago in the deal that brought the Mets Jerry Blevins.
I don't know how many seasons ago it was. Remember, he was having that great spring training and broke his hand or thumb or on a sliding catch in left center.
Toward the hole, and Dendecker's got a base hit. It's the 4th hit off Roseboom in an inning plus.
I wonder if pitchers on the mound are deflated because they're used to that being an out in today's game. Usually hit into some kind of shift.
Now Ramon Cabrera will bat for the first time. I want to take a moment to note the passing of a really influential figure in my life and in the Mets organization for many years. Dave Rosenfield passed away this week. Dave was the general manager of the team in Norfolk Tidewater Tides, later the Norfolk Tides, who were the top farm team for the Mets. He was the GM there for over 50 years and was just a towering figure in minor league baseball. And he had an enormous influence on my career. When I first met Dave, I was living down in the Norfolk area, and I actually applied to him to be the voice of the Tides. And he told me that they didn't have a job opening, but that I should call his friend Miles Wolff in Durham, who might have a job opening. And I got the job in Durham. That was my first job doing baseball. And then the next year, Dave had an opening again, and I applied to him. And he said, "No, sorry, I filled the job. But call my friend Lou Schweckheimer in Pawtucket. I think he has a job opening." And I got the job in Pawtucket. Wow. And then 2 years later, Dave helped me get the job with the Mets. So he was kind of my angel in my broadcasting career. A guy who one of those minor league GMs who had his hand in every aspect of the game. Dave was a guy who he wrote the schedule for the International League for decades.
Well, he was there, and when I was in Tidewater, it was the Tidewater Tides at the time, not in the new ballpark they have now. And there are a lot of tremendous stars that came through there during my period, Strawberry and others. And he was a father figure to a lot of us minor league guys. And I'll always remember that the incentive, the carrot for all of us, was if you swept the series, you could come up in the Diamond Club that they had on the second floor, and he'd give you a steak dinner.
Really?
In those days, it meant something.
Oh, sure.
Right under the glove of Evans and into left field. And so Cabrera is aboard.
Just seems right now that Roseboom is just pitching right-handers too much inside. Yeah, they're getting hurt in. Were they going to rule that a hit?
I believe so. I've seen Evans make some great plays going to his right. That one to his left couldn't quite come up with it.
He expected it to come up and it stayed down. Rosie was the kind of guy that you didn't make the big league club. You'd get to Tidewater. You say, Rosie, where should I live? You go, call this person. They have a nice place for you to stay.
Really?
Yeah, he was just. He knew everybody.
He was the king.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really was. He was not an easy man to work for.
He was tough.
He was a tough guy and very demanding, but he knew his stuff. Really smart. Probably, and I look at this from my perspective, probably understood broadcasting as well as any minor league executive I've ever been around. For most minor league GMs, you know, the radio guy, they don't really care. Just go do your thing. But Rosie cared, and he knew about broadcasting. He knew what would get people to the major leagues, and he's.
There was a time, Gary, wasn't there, like radio guys sometimes would be the traveling secretary too?
Sure. Groundskeeper, drive the bus, whatever. I've rolled the tarp or two in my time.
You did.
Moises Sierra up for the first time, and he takes inside from Roseboom.
You almost equate your broadcasting career to how the ball players do it. You know, you started in the minor leagues and had to move up, and when you get here, try to stay as long as you can. And we're on what, 30-something years?
Base hit for Sierra, so 3 straight hits for the Marlins to start this 8th inning.
Mr. Roseboom is gassed.
It's a tough day for left-handers.
Yeah.
On both sides. Well, there have now been 25 hits in this game, 14 for the Mets, 11 now for the Marlins.
Hansel Robles up now for the Mets, getting ready. Just getting loose.
JT Riddle bats for the second time, hit a long double to right. And it's a good breaking ball by Roseboom, 0-1. Slowly hit. Yorme circles in, gets the out at second. The turn not in time, as Dendecker comes home to make it 11-4.
Boy, he's got some sweet hands.
Yes, he does. Nice play. Get that lead runner. Keep another runner out of scoring position. A lot of shortstops just so this might have gone to first base. Very nice.
And that'll be all for Roseboom. He'll exit, and Hansel Robles will come in to try and finish off this 8th inning. So Roseboom out after an inning in the 3rd. 11-4 Mets in the 8th. We'll be right back to Port St. Lucie. Tonight on Geico Sports Night, you got an update on David Wright's shoulder. He spoke to the media today. Giants, Jets, Geico Sports Night, 10:30.
Did something happen to Eli? I mean, this is down the road, I guess.
Or reaching.
Oh, I understand.
Isaac Galloway takes a strike from Hansel Robles.
When I was driving up this morning, I thought they had a chance of rain here in Florida, but it turned out to be a beautiful day.
Robles making his 3rd appearance of the spring. He's yet to allow a hit.
I didn't ask. Is he pitching in the WBC? Hansel?
Don't believe so. Mets have 11 players leaving for the WBC, but Robles, oh yes, he is on the list.
Okay.
I'm mistaken. He's pitching for the Dominican.
See that Carmelo Martinez in his only outing for the Cardinals yesterday. Carlos Martinez, sorry. Carmelo is my error. Carlos Martinez pitched 3 innings. That's a lot to pitch early in spring, but he's going to be one of the main starters.
Well, it's shocking to see 3 innings up there this early.
Right?
Yep. And you mentioned in the last broadcast, Ron.
That finds a hole. Galloway has a base hit. That brings in Cabrera with the 2nd run of the inning. It's now 11-5. So the hits just keep on coming.
Right down the pipe and up. But when we were coming up, Ronnie, I mean, shoot, I was with the Cardinals. Gibson would pitch opening day. It would be against Seaver. And if they had good outings, they'd go 3 on the first start.
Well, I mean, back in those days, pitchers would pitch complete games in spring training.
The last time out.
Yeah. Nobody's pitching complete games in spring training now.
Well, they don't do it during the season. Why should they?
Right.
I love that line. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks. Good day's work. And high fives. Oh.
2-0 to Till East, and he floats one behind third, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Riddle being waved around. He'll score. 5 hits in the inning now for the Marlins. They've scored 3 times, and the Met lead is trimmed to 11-6.
Well, Talise has 2 hits now. One hit off the end of the bat that was a swinging bunt down the third base line, and this is a jam shot to left.
Well, good read right there by Riddle. That's a blooper right there, inside out bloop.
So Robles has faced 2 batters, given up 2 hits. And now Brian Anderson up for the second time. Grounded out to short his first time up. Robles in position to be a prime setup man for the Mets early in the season when Familia supposedly will be suspended. The other guy who should be filling that role is Fernando Salas, who's yet to get in the game this spring.
It's in limbo.
It's because he has a visa issue. He's here, but his work visa has not come through, so he's not technically allowed to be in a game until that happens.
But he's got a visa to pitch in the WBC in Mexico.
Right.
Okay.
And he should be able to get his visa to work here when he's in Mexico for the WBC. So it should all work out. But that's why Salas has not been in the game yet. On the outside corner, and Anderson's caught looking. And that's the second out.
Well, you'd like to be able to dial this pitch up whenever you need it. Knees, well, no block anymore, but edge of the plate.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Yefri Perez, who had a double to drive in a run in the 7th inning. That's with 2 out and 2 on.
That's that changeup that Robles has developed as his 3rd pitch, but he's primarily a power guy. He's going to come after you with his hard stuff.
Out to left center, Nimmo tracking it, and that retires the side. 3 runs in the 8th for the Marlins. Mets still lead at 11-6. We go to the bottom of the 8th at first Data Field. Mets leading 11-6. Yes, we're in Florida. I like that emblem, by the way.
I really like it. For the first time, I want to get a lid before we leave with that emblem on it. Yep.
Champ Stewart will lead off against the new Marlins pitcher Ben Holmes, and he takes a strike.
Holmes had a good year last year in the minor leagues. Look at those numbers.
It was at single A here in the Florida State League for Jupiter and in low A ball for Greensboro.
The Hammerheads, right? I guess Mattingly's still trying to tempt fate with just one more left-hander out there.
Well, what's he going to do?
Yeah.
Every lefty has given up a run today. At least one run.
And a good changeup by Holmes strikes out Stewart for the first out.
Changeup, down, maybe slider. Don't know Mr. Holmes well enough to know his repertoire.
But now Brandon Nimmo has been up twice and had a couple of hits. Getting a bat against the lefty, and he lines his 3rd hit of the day. So a solid afternoon for Nimmo. 3 for 3 off the bench.
Very nice. I'm telling you, you need some guys that are off the bench. Number one, he plays good defense. He can run. And when you're coming off the bench, you need those guys that are contact, doubles hitters.
Here's Cicchini up for the 2nd time, and he laces a base hit. So both Nimmo and Cicchini first pitch swinging, and they each have solid hits to give the Mets 16 hits for the afternoon. And now Travis Tyrone, who had a base hit in his only at bat in the 7th. That's now with 11 runs and 16 hits. The Marlins 6 runs and 13 hits. Loses the bat, and Dom Smith has to execute evasive action to avoid getting nailed in the on-deck circle. There was no Luis Guillorme to save him.
Oh, what a shot here.
See his eyes? I better move. Well, if you missed it earlier, I am sure it is everywhere on the internet.
Right.
The play that Luis Guillorme made on the thrown bat. I think it was Echeverria, right? Threw the bat early in the ball game. And Guillorme, standing on the dugout railing, picked it off one-handed like it was nothing.
Never even thought of that. Like, he'll be famous today. He'll be everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Everywhere.
No one will know how to pronounce his name.
That's all right.
But they'll all know what he accomplished. And we'll show this again because you just can't show it enough.
There's a one-handed all-star here. Watch. Amazing.
Watch with the bat. The bat goes back and almost hits Rivera in the head. Watch this.
I mean, how do you even have the presence of mind to know how to do that? Well, we've been raving about Guillorme's defensive skills, and we've seen a little bit of that on the field today, but that will certainly enhance his legend, if not his chances of making it to the big leagues.
No panic. Scene right out of Braveheart or something.
And then there's Dom Smith realizing that there was a projectile headed his way. You know, there used to be a joke about, you know, an Olympic athlete working as a javelin catcher. But perhaps we've now found a person who can perform that task. As Tyrone is down on strikes for the second out. I mean, everybody else is getting out of the way, and Gsellman is just, it's nothing.
He's too cool for school. I love it.
Nimmo was trying to get in the way. He was running towards the bat.
Well, I don't think he was doing that on purpose.
I agree. It was a major miscalculation.
I mean, it's got to be hard to judge the flight of a bat, right? It's not like a ball which has a certain expected trajectory.
But I think 99% of the people do what Nimmo did, right? You're just trying to get out of the way.
You duck.
Yeah.
I will say this too. It used to be that, you know, dugouts didn't have fences and railings in front of them, so you always had to be alert.
Watch Nimmo's got his arms folded. Now he runs into the bat. He was running into the
You're
bat.
right. If Gsellman doesn't catch that, it
He
might
might have got hurt.
Plunked him right in the head. 2-1 to Dom Smith. We always say, every day you come to the ballpark, you're going to see something you've never seen before. That was it today.
Have you noticed in our spring training games, the big moments don't really always happen on the field so far?
Well, we've had the kids on the berm.
That's right.
The 2-year-old with the great arm. We've had Gsellman catching the bat. We had our producer locked into the booth,
sweating bullets.
Yeah. It's been a big day. Oh, Syndergaard putting the sunflower seeds down Gelbs' back. And
baby powder too.
Baby powder, yeah. Keith's ice machine.
Yes, it's been a very, very good day. Left-handers getting their lunch.
You like that. 3-2 to Smith.
All this and 17 runs and 29 hits. 3 Met home runs. A grand slam by Phillip Evans. 2-run shot by Walker. And a solo bomb by Cespedes.
Yeah, that was a pretty good highlight, too, that Cespedes shot over the batter's eye as Smith walks to load the bases. That's one that'll make a few highlights as well. So now the base is loaded. Tomas Nido will come up for the second time. He had a base hit, scored a run in the 7th inning. That scored 4 in the 4th, 5 in the 5th, and 2 in the 7th. And now Nido with a chance to add to it with the bases loaded. Tomas Nido, born in Puerto Rico, grew up in Florida. Was going to go to Florida State before the Mets drafted him in the 8th round in 2012. And he had his best season by far last year playing here in St. Lucie. Hit .320 and won the batting title in the Florida State League. Mets had batting champions in the Florida State League, the Eastern League, and the Pacific Coast League.
Gary, are you leaving us after today to go take the Pirates home?
I will be heading for Indianapolis, Seton Hall at Butler Saturday.
Nice.
Big East tournament next week. NCAA's beyond, fingers crossed. Bouncing ball for Riddle, and that retires the side. Mets strand 3 in the bottom of the 8th. Off to the 9th we go with the Mets up 11-6. How do they know when to turn over? You wouldn't want them to get totally burned.
Heartbreak kid.
You fall asleep. That can happen. Oh boy, it looks good, nice, doesn't it?
You turn over, Gary, when you wake up from your nap. That's when you turn over.
Oh.
Well, no line at the Tiki Bar.
I like that we show the Tiki Bar. That was off limits there for a couple.
Probably
seasons.
the biggest development in our broadcast over 12 years.
Why was that? Why was that off limits?
You know, it was a different time, Keith.
Oh, really?
Hansel Robles stays in to pitch the 9th inning.
What was it, a speakeasy?
Chris Hu up for the 2nd time. Grounded out in the 7th. Well, from a pitching standpoint today, as Hu is hit by the pitch and Who's on first.
Just some sloppy pitching today.
I guarantee you, it's like you're out in the field. It's like, let's get in, get 3 outs, and let's go inside. Skipper's going to have us do some running after the game.
These are the kind of games that I don't know if they'll do it anymore, but the skipper would get you out on the field after the game's done and have you do some couple times at first, second, third, and all around the bases.
The base running.
I don't think that's going to happen today.
No, I mean, I don't think it happens much anymore.
That's what I mean.
But the managers, it was almost like, you're going to have me out here for 3.5 hours? Okay, go run the bases now for 15 minutes.
Matt Dendecker had a base hit and scored a run. His only at bat.
Well, Terry Collins had a full day today. Gary and I were in left field just watching batting practice, and he was in left field, and he was running around, making great catches, shagging like he was 35 years old, 30 years old.
Made a terrific backhand shoestring catch going toward the line. Very impressive. And he was wearing his little second baseman's mitt, too.
That's right. How old's Terry now? 67?
67, yeah.
Wow.
This bench coach, Dick Scott.
Was an act, 67.
Got more energy than most 27-year-olds I know.
That's right.
Dendecker strikes out for the first out of the 9th. Second strikeout for Robles.
That's just us talking about our kids. Good fastball. Oh, that was a changeup there. Sorry, from Hansel Robles. Pitch that Keith was mentioning he started to use last year.
Conditioning, conditioning coaches.
Oh,
that's over on the other field. They're waiting. I sense some sprints coming.
Players get bitter too because they've been playing all game, and these guys have been doing nothing. Probably a half hour ago they're inside eating fruit, watching TV, and now they're going to blow the whistle and make us run for a half hour.
Well, all the youngsters are out there now, so they'll be they're just glad to be here in the big leagues.
Cabrera hits one to shallow left. Stewart will have to play it on a hop. Got a bad route to that ball, and it falls for a hit for Ramon Cabrera, and the Marlins have 2 men on. That's the 30th hit in this game. Would you like to share with the class?
No, we're not sharing. Ronnie and I are not sharing.
Here's Moises Sierra up for the 2nd time. He had a base hit his first time up. There's a fastball popping in for a strike. 1-1. 94 from Robles.
It's pretty firm this early in spring training.
So when Noah goes to the mound tomorrow for the first time, what do you think the radar gun's going to show? First time out of the box, talking about throwing harder than last year, gained 17 pounds of muscle.
Well, I think he's going to throw some high numbers only because the adrenaline rush. A lot of these guys have been here for a while, Gary. Haven't been able to get on a mound yet, so they're going to be excited to let it go.
That's a radar gun. There's a fastball, got him looking, and that's the second out. Third strikeout for Robles. One more out to seal this one. And he'll take on JT Riddle. He's had 2 at-bats, a double, an RBI, 2 runs scored. Well, any way you slice it, it's a big day tomorrow as the Mets start to run their frontline starters out for the first time in the spring. Normally you do that right from the first game, but because of the lengthened spring training and all these pitchers being handled with care, it starts tomorrow. Syndergaard against the Astros. We'll have it for you on SNY starting at 1 o'clock. Into foul ground. Evans catches the foul pop from Riddle, and that'll do it. So in a slugfest, the Mets hit 3 home runs. Cespedes hits 1 out of sight. Phillip Evans hits a grand slam. Neil Walker adds a 2-run homer, and the Mets outscore the Marlins 11-6.
Well, for the pitching for the Mets, Gsellman, 2 not sharp innings, but 2 solid innings, and the bullpen struggled a little bit after that. A lot of hits out here today, Keith.
I'll say there was exactly 30 of them, Ron, and 17 runs. Gary mentioned the 3 home runs by the Mets. The grand slam by the youngster, Phillip Evans. Cespedes, a monstrous shot over the monster in center field, and Walker with a 2-run shot. So Mets win 1 here, and we'll take it away, Gare.
Mets are now 4-3 on the spring. And Cespedes put his mark on this game, hitting it over the batter's eye in center field. Tomorrow, spring debut for Noah Syndergaard as the Mets play the Astros. We'll have it for you, and SNY starting tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Steve Gelbs, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen in Port St. Lucie. We'll see you tomorrow right back out there on SNY.